I called you tonight. I've been thinking this for too long. Send a message, you don't reply. I'll keep looking for you, even if it's wrong. I'm sitting all alone in my room. You're stuck so hard in my head. I don't care if there's no chance. I need to find you. I need to know. I need to know. I need to know if we're still in your heart. I called you tonight. I've been thinking this for too long. Send a message, you don't reply. I'll keep looking for you, even if it's wrong. Sitting all alone in my room. You're stuck so hard in my head. I don't care if there's no chance. I need to find you. I need to know. I need to know. I need to know if we're still in your heart. If we're still in your heart. I need to know if we're still in your heart. I'll try stop the road to know if we're still in your heart. I'll try need a glow to find myself back in your heart. I'll try stop the road to know if I'm still in your heart. I'll try need a glow to find myself back in your heart. I called you tonight. If I'm still in your heart.
It is that kind of control map that we see coming up so often. The player base absolutely gets split on whether or not they like playing them, but whether or not you like it, it's here to stay, and it gives you such a good insider's view on how these teams work, whether or not they're going to go for that immediate team fight, whether or not they're going to be a little bit more patient and try to take something like the high ground so they can have an advantage when the fight actually breaks out rather than looking for that first blood.
You know what? I really appreciate control for the variety of compositions that we get out of it, right? You see different points and different points value different things. For one, we're starting off here on University, which is obviously going to be favoring a little bit of brawl. You can mix in a Junkrat here and there. What are you looking for specifically, especially in this sort of uncertain meta that we're in?
Well, definitely not Farah, that's for sure. She tends to get counted by ceilings an awful lot, especially, with the new soldier changes coming over. Suddenly you don't just have that traditional Farah counter of the Ash. You can sometimes actually swap that soldier into your DPS lineup. I always love to see whether teams are going to lean in on that, but do you know what? Pogfish not showing us the Farah, not showing us the Sombra, not the Sombra, the soldier, instead going to be showing us the Sombra. And this is a very, very fast composition. This is a composition that is going to use Crocodile on that Lucio with the speed boost to try and get themselves into the fight as quickly as possible to overwhelm Tempo's front line. Tempo currently showing us the Mei, the Tourbillon. Whether they actually come out with this is going to put a massive spanner into the plans of Pogfish, because it's so very hard to actually get in top and punish aggression in a team that is all about setup and slow burn.
Yeah, the Mei can shut this push down with just a singular wall, but the wall whiffs pretty big, so it's going to be the red side at a slight advantage right now. Pogfish have precedence over the point as long as this wall's on cooldown. Another 5 seconds until that one's back up, but Brad opens things with a kill onto Yeeter. And that alone should be enough to just force Pogfish back. There's no main tank. You're going to bleed out one by one. Good job, though, by Tempo, moving in slowly and methodically to gain themselves the first tick of the point.
Pogfish just can't get in, can't go as aggressive as they want to. You can see at Tempo are playing so close together, utilizing the Brad's turret to make sure that you can't Ghost just does not have the space to use that Sombra to full potential. We don't see any good hack coming out because you're just not given the time. You take too much damage, it immediately gets cancelled out. And unfortunately for Pogfish, they haven't even been able to build up to ultimate charge to try and balance like this coalescence that Tengsin now has. Worse, they've lost their Moira already.
Yeah, and look at how aggressively Tempo moving forward. I mean, this is basically textbook stuff from them, recognizing the opening, looking to get a couple more frags, but there's not much there. Instead, it's going to be Pogfish coming back in for one more go at things.
This is dangerous as well because every single time Pogfish go in, they lose someone early, they lose the fight early, they haven't been able to build up ult charges to actually balance out what Tempo are going to have available.
Yeah, you have to do this one the old-fashioned way. Brad's already taken out Yeeter, another early pick, Mox. And they didn't even need the ultimate to start things off there. Yes, they follow up with the Coalescence, but man, it is just pure, solid neutral game from this side.
Pogfish, though, will have access to the one thing that they desperately need in this next fight, and that's the Sound Barrier. Unfortunately for Crocodile, you are in a position where you are going to have to use it multiple times, and you can only hit that floor once. If Tempo play their cards right, if they don't stack this Graviton and Blizzard, Pogfish are going to be without sustainability in 2 ultimates which can wipe their entire team.
Yeah, there's pretty much one saving grace here. Crocodile and the Sound Barrier. It might not come up in time, though. The wall's beautiful. It catches everybody in there. Oh, what a nice fit of follow-up from Prince Willie as well. Charges everybody up against the wall, knocks them up, swings them down. It is looking very clean from Tempo. They only need one more fight to seal themselves out a point.
And do you know what the worst thing for Pogfish is? They may have all of their ultimates, but they don't have the time necessary to actually be able to use them in the ways that they want to. The EMP is going to be there, yes, but Tempo can literally just put Molten Core and Shatter down to stop this team from even touching points.
It's all about Crocodile dodging the EMP, did so very effectively, drops from the high ground, drops the Sound Barrier. This gives Tempo the time that they need to get through this fight, but Pogfish still have more in their back pockets. We mentioned the 6 ultimates might not come into play here, but it absolutely has. They're just able to overwhelm them and out-sustain them through sheer presses of the Q button, but it's not over yet. Tempo's still playing around off the back of this Cole, and you know what? Tenor may have gotten him back into it.
Prince Willie's even going to be coming back on the Hammond just to try and keep this point further in Tempo's possession. Pogfish will be coming in with the Death Blossom, but it's so quickly shut down. That was what their team needed to come in clutch, and it is just not enough. And we talked about it. We said, yes, you have 6 ultimates, but you don't have anywhere near the amount of time, the point percentage to actually be able to set those up in the ways that you want to. They were pressed. They had to use EMP just to get themselves onto the point. And because EMP, yes, it hits the team, it doesn't actually allow Pogfish the time to be able to pick up, to capitalize on the amount of people it hit, because they're too busy scrambling to touch point than to actually translate that hit into damage done. And if this continues, if they continue to try to run out with this Sombra that gets heavily counted and could only build up 1 EMP, I'm gonna say that again, 1 EMP in 1 round, then this team is in some real troubling waters.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. I want to hand it out to Lilithy, finding the counter sound barrier. They're staying hidden, you know, it's a good heads-up play. But in this one, things get interesting. It's dive from Pogfish. They're all going to be in and on one target. You know what? They want to harass this Reinhardt off the high ground, not give them the space to work with, make this Mei far less effective. But off the map, oh, Willow! What a poor way to go. Great boop, though, by Crocodile. He's double dipping on the Waffle. Not much more value to be found, but with that one-man advantage, that clears the way for Pogfish to push through.
And now Pogfish have access to what they want with this composition, all right? Tempo are going to be the ones intruding. Tempo are going to be the ones at risk when Yukon Ghost and Merge both are on this flank. In fact, Tempo are even going to swap off their DPS lineup. Gone is the McCree. In its place is Reaper. Willow's going to be going on to the Sombra off the Mace. They're going to try and go for that back line. Force Pogfish to turn around and peel rather than go on the aggression.
Yeah, that's absolutely the right call as well. Trying to play Mei into this without the space is just always going to be a rough time, but Tempo now up to the high ground. Just dancing for the time being, but a quick speed from Prince Willie. He's in with the hammer, but he may not want to be exactly where he is right now. There's so much damage being thrown in. Coalescence on top of everything. And Otto's not only going to be keeping his entire team up, but also taking the entire other team down with him.
And Tengsu may have been able to build Coalescence up in that fight, something that Tempo are going to be looking for to open up this next fight, but they have to be very careful about when they actually use it, because Pogfish have this Sombra in play, and Moiras are vulnerable when they're ulting. They can get hacked out of it, worse, they can get EMP'd out of it. So if Tempo go aggressive with this Coalescence, they run the risk of getting caught out by EMP and putting themselves in a place where they're going to get team wiped and can't disengage.
And now we're just playing a little bit of footsies for the high ground, waiting for the inevitable EMP from Yukon Ghost. There it is. It caught everybody except for Willow, but it doesn't matter. The Sombra's already down. Dead Blossom in the backline by Merge, and that's enough damage to end the fight again for Pogfish, ending it efficiently with a nice pair of 2.
They canceled the call.
Whew.
Tempo tried to use that Coalescence to get in aggressive, and just as I predicted, it's that moment that Yukon Ghost is waiting for. Hits the EMP, and because Tempo is so grouped up, so close together, because all of them are trying to move in with that Coalescence to keep them build up to be able to touch the point and contest that high ground, nearly all the entire team gets hit by it, and they're too far in, they can't disengage cleanly. Now they've got an EMP of their own, and once again it's going to be down to the Lucio to hide to not get caught out.
Well, it's going to be tough to follow up on this. The target focus needs to be there. They use their own sound barrier while engaging, but Lilithy pops at second, which is a huge advantage here for Pogfish, but it doesn't matter. They're going down anyways. Yeeter, Otta, and Crocodile falling in order. It may be overtime, but Tempo have finally gotten a hold of the point.
But they had to use so much to be able to claim that space. And unfortunately, they had to use that sound barrier. And Pogfish, with Yukon Ghost on this Sombra, have been able to do so much, has been given so much free roam, getting that EMP off of Prince Willie, off of this Diva, already almost has another EMP. And Tempo, now they have to hide the Moira, now they have to hope the Coalescence doesn't get caught out by it a second time.
I'm out of
Yeah, it's a real shame they had to use the sound barrier there. They would kill for it right now, but now, like you said, it's only the Moira standing up against the high ground. They're ready for the EMP. It's up, it's in, it's huge! Tenor got caught out. There's no chance of a goal. Pogfish are coming back for what was rightfully theirs from the beginning of the map. Already had themselves a nice pair of 2 frags. They're cleaning up the rest. It's going to be recontest city for Tempo. Otherwise, we're going 1-1 on the first map.
Laskin's holding onto the Diva Bomb as well, just in case Tempo decide that they want to use these ultimates to launch in a last-minute recontest. Remember, it is the last fight for Pogfish. If they win this, they manage to balance out this map.
It's not over yet. They've got 1 from the Soldier. It doesn't feel like there's much of an opportunity here, especially with overtime ticking. Diva will make it to point. Moira behind. I can't see much else following this one up. The bomb's nice, though, to buy time. It actually gets your support there. It gives your Sombra time to come on. But you need to frag. You need to find individual kills. The EMP is pretty large, but there's no real follow-up right now for the blue side.
Laskin's holding onto the Diva Bomb as well. That's the Winston Bomb already used! This bomb's gonna be good!
Oh, it may not be the bomb. It's Death Blossom. They got to look out for Merge coming in. And you know what? We knew it was going to happen. Pogfish, they're a solid team. They're going to hit these cleanups every day of the week. But boy, they made it look dominant. What a way to fire back after 100-0 first map as well, Mox.
I love as well that Pogfish keep the Sombra in, even though that was the absolute biggest detriment to their composition in University. But what they do is, they force Tempo off of the Sombra counter, they force Tempo to play the game that Pogfish want them to play. And we see Yukon Ghost to Sombra come absolutely alive, cancelling out Coalescence, hacking Willow out so that the Sombra, who's 96% to EMP, can't hit that ultimate in time, has to use it on the back foot when Tempo going for that recontest, rather than when the members are organized and are actually able to capitalize when the ultimate comes through. And they're going to keep it again. If you're Tempo, you've got to start shutting down the Sombra once again. It worked with the Tourbillon, but we're not going to be seeing the Tourbillon come out. Instead, once again, it's going to be this mirror composition.
Nah, more footsies to be played around the jump pad. No one wants to full engage on this. The threat of the ledge is more than enough to end that one. But right now, I feel like it's Tempo ending up in a much better position. They've got the high ground to work with. They can drop at their leisure. They've got 5 seconds before this control point unlocks as well. Attack out though. It's really a nice bit of damage as well. 40% up to the ultimate by Willow already. But this is when the fight really breaks out. They gotta choose their dive target wisely here. Now the waffle around the side. Can't really find any sort of opening. Pogfish are playing so close. They're not leaving the gaps that they want to exploit, much less wanting to run into Merge, which just feels like a suicide wish at this point. It's the first Coalescence up, though, from Otta. This is the engagement they were looking for. They can finally fight back after taking so much damage from Tempo, and they're doing so beautifully. Absorbing the push, though. The EMP's early from Pogfish. They're not done fighting for it yet. Tempo pushing on the back of that huge hack. They've got themselves one, but a counter EMP even. It's just the first fight. We've seen 4 ultimates, Mox.
This is just an absolute echo. Remember, Joe, the person who ults last with the mirror comes in bigger. Neither of these teams are giving up anything.
Brad still has it, but no, the Death Blossom misses somehow. How many ultimates has it been? Was that all 6? I think it was just safe for 1 Diva Bomb. But oh my god, is Pogfish coming out on top just barely here. They fought tooth and nail for, my god, another Coalescence from Otta. Oh my lord. Somebody give these guys a break already. This should be enough damage to get through these sports, and if it's not, my god, I don't know what else Pogfish could do to try and win this point.
I mean, you've heard of the 2 shadows in one fight, now we've seen the 2 coalescences in one fight, and still the point remains unclaimed. Remember, Joe, this is dying.
Ghost has another EMP.
So quickly, yeah. You're able to get so quickly back from your respawns onto the point that we see those sorts of fights go down. Not in the first fight normally, but in overtime as well.
Oh, the CMP. There's no way you know it's even coming as well. The sound barrier's not online to counter it. Tenor gets hit with it as well, so there's no chance of a counter Coalescence. They do only get a team egg for it, though, so it's going to be a quick little back off from Pogfish.
It's a good delay tactic, though. You're building time now. You can really force Tempo into moving into places that they don't want to. You can kite them either into the Diva Bomb or into the Death Blossom.
Bomb over EMP combo. No, nobody's home. Big whiff, only caught Otta, and now it's all about the counter engage. Brad's in the back line looking for a Death Blossom with his name on it, but he can't quite get it charged up in time. It's Pogfish large and in charge right now, with the point continuing to take in their favor, while all of these awkward stagger kills go down. Mox, this is the same exact fight we watched last time. Awkward and undecided.
Yeah, but remember, the longer these fights go on, the closer Pogfish are going to be getting to charging these ultimates that Tempo just used and whipped. Yukon Ghost already about to hit yet another EMP, so even with Tempo coming into this aggressive Death Blossom, with the Sound Barrier to try and make sure the Reaper actually survives it, those both get stripped by that one Sombra ultimate. They have to be so careful. They don't want to use those 2 until they see the EMP come out from Pogfish.
Yeah, within this neutral game, Pogfish has just been getting so much more ultimate charge, and it may be an even fight. They may not lose anybody, but Tempo are definitely behind right now, and the EMP will tell them exactly why. It misses Lilty, though. They're allowed to get the sound barrier off on the back of it, looking for a re-engage, and it's going to catch out You Can't Ghost, but they don't have much else to follow up. They need to push in with Tenor's Coalescence, and they absolutely will. Now trying to force the issue with the Death Blossom square ahead, but a great push from the Primal Rage will be putting a stop right to that one. Brad finally finds a pick, though, on the merge. It opens the door to push in, but another sound barrier for Pogfish. It's keeping them alive.
Yeah, both of these losers coming in absolutely clutch when their team needs them, and Pogfish, they've got the ultimate to zone Tempo out in the last fight of this round, though.
One last chance for Tempo, but it doesn't feel likely, Mugs. Even the Lucio's double dipping in for a little bit of the action right now. Pogfish are far from giving this one up, and after a very, very rough map 1, they've come back and made a statement on this series.
Oh, they're still trying our tempo. Remember, they are running that dive composition. We saw them so stubbornly come back into that fight time and time and time again in the first one, but it is not to be. Pogfish walk away with Oasis beneath their belts, and oh my goodness. If these fights are any indication on how the rest of the series is to go, we are in for an exhausting fight, a tooth and nail fight, with both of these teams refusing to give up a single bit of ground, even if they have to throw 6 ultimates to try and secure 1 meter.
Oh my god, that was a nail biter in every sense of the term. But like you said, I think the biggest defining factor there is when one team gets the point, does the other one decide to back off? Right? If those fights are going to go forever, it's massively in favor of the people controlling the point. That percentage is taking up the entire time. And I don't think Tempo knew how to put on the brakes, which normally is a good thing. But right then, they could have used just a little bit less of the gas pedal.
Like, there's one moment as well, and you have to feel so bad for Tempo. They knew what they needed to do. The combo was perfect. The EMP, the pump, oh, they overshot the distance. Half a meter, perhaps even 1 maximum. It would have been huge. It would have secured them the point in the absolute blink of an eye. You wouldn't have had that massive contest. You wouldn't have had pretty much 20% point going to your enemy because of how long that fight draws out. No, it would have been done. And then all of the benefits that Pogfish were reaping when they were in control of that point, Tempo would have been able to dip into and would have had a hand in, and we would have seen a much closer scoreline when that map actually wrapped up. In fact, we may have seen a completely different one as well, because as you pointed out, when you were in control of that space, you have all of the power, you have all of the pacing, and you decide when the fight begins, when it ends, unless the attacking side has an initiating ultimate, and even then, sometimes they don't want to go in with it because, well, you know, it has that potential to whiff if you don't put it in the right place.
You know, like, this is something we've traditionally seen on Control Point so many times, right? These fights going on forever, especially in dive versus dive. Notably, Lijiang Garden
Lijiang.
was a real problem for
head
it for a
over
while.
shoulders, the worst
Yeah.
defender of the lot. The fact that
Wait,
you can just
no.
bounce
I
into that
think I can
window.
top it. I think I could top it, Mox. Remember that little meta where people just ran Orisa Ball on Nepal Sanctum to contest the point to infinity? Oh,
Yeah.
that was miserable. That was
Oh,
awful.
and then you had a Mercy as well, so just when you thought you managed to get one of the problems out of the way, nope, heroes never die. Back you go. Oh, man. But, I mean, up next is Hanamura, and that doesn't have anywhere near as long of a recontest. Well, you know, on the first point,
Okay.
because the second one, the second one is a little bit of a different side, right? The defending spawn is super nearby, and you really do have to be able to snuff the team out in playlist to the point where they just cannot recover. And that means a lot of mind games, a lot of thinking, but before you can even hit that, you've got to get through by far the worst place for a main tank to try and go through without communication from the team. Hanamura Courtyard. How often have we seen teams come completely stuck at those double doors?
Especially when there's a May on the other side. Let's get to the next point. I mean, it was almost just foretold.
Wait. May and Torb. Duh, this
is not going to feel good.
This isn't just the you don't want to be on Reinhardt day. This is the we're gonna bully you off Reinhardt and raid you onto a Hammond composition.
Hold up. Wait,
Oh.
Pogfish, I love this comp.
I knew you would. I knew you would. I mean, if they're actually rolling out with it, right? Then everything that Tempo were going to be setting up, all of the barriers that they're going to try and put into the place of Yita on this Reinhardt are going to be artificially removed by that teleporter. Because you can't wall, you can't turret, you can't choke down that Reinhardt shield. You can, however, see the sim and block it off before the port comes through.
Yeah, Ryan Rinson's going to give him so many options to work with. They can dive, they can hold, but oh my god, the anti from Tenor! What a great way to open the fight. Pogfish have almost stabilized back. The health bars are all but full right now. They just need to be able to find the frags off the back of this big slam inbound. No, great block by the opposing main tank to keep him alive for the time being. That Mei is very low and very out of cooldowns, but somehow gets out with their life. How the hell? Lilith the off on the side, though, is going to take off the main heals, and that's awful for Pogfish. They need to look for an engagement right now. They need to start finding kills, and that's exactly what they needed. Prince Willie down, the Reinhardt now out. It's so hard for Tempo to push onto this point.
They just can't get back in. That is a fully charged Symmetra. Even though you've got a Nano Zarya, you've got to go through that symbol, and then you're moving on to turrets.
They may have done it. Lility's taken out the other healer. Now, yeah, that's enough to get him back the point. That Nano Zarya, it was almost not enough, but one right click away was victory.
Okay, now with your Tempo, you know there's a Symmetra. You have to be ready with that Mei wall. You cannot allow Pogfish to move back onto point. In fact, you're even seeing Tempo's tanks presiding in point. They're not in courtyard, they're not at door. Even if the teleporter comes through, Pogfish still have to step into the waiting arms of Tempo.
That was a sick counter wall. Pops up the teleporter, and then they destroy it. That's a little bit of Mei tech, and like, they probably would have been fine on point. But, you know, you got to give them a couple style points. They'll just go for the same old, oh, no. They're going all the way. And I mean, it's the same effect. It's a little bit safer. Shouldn't be shot too quickly. And now as they make their way down the opposing side, it's all about repositioning for this blue team. Tempo are large and in charge, though, in a perfect place to do that. That Shatter went square into a circular shield, and now they need to look for a re-engage off the back of the Graviton. It's just right, and Crocodile doesn't have a sound barrier to make it count either. An easily won and disengaged fight by Tempo.
So when you're running the sim, you are always going to run into this problem if you don't win that first fight. At the end of the day, no matter how complex your teleporter, no matter how complex your approach to this point, you have to step onto that point to pick up that percentage. And all Tempo have to do is wait. They've got the ultimates, they've got the Blizzard. You can't go, so it's now going to be swapping onto the Widowmaker to try and get a first pick. With no mercy on the defending side, if you get that first pick, it will be brutal. However, you don't have the Sign Bar, you don't have the Coalescence, you have to get the meat out of play.
You said that it happened, Mox. Down goes Willow, and in comes Willie. He's coming in with a vengeance, trying to avenge his teammates. Got the Shatter locked and loaded. Doesn't even need it, though, because that Nano's going to be more than enough. Embarrassing little charge into the step, but you know what? It did the job anyways.
I mean, they managed to get the Blizzard out of the way. If you're Pogfish, you now have a little bit of a window of opportunity, right? Where you're going to be able to hit Coalescence and Soundbar and have a lot of unparalleled aggression, especially because Tempo do not currently have any support ultimates that are going to be coming online in the next fight. What you have to worry about is this Molten Core, and Laskin's got to be able to defense matrix the heck out of it.
Yeah, it's pretty sure only option. Oh no, Merge is already down. This Molten Core is about to be deadly. Pushing out, catches him on the backside, but not too much damage. It's a good disengage by Pogfish at the very least, but there's still only 30 seconds on the clock, Mox.
They will be coming in with those two support ultimates and a Death Blossom, though. And remember, Tempo aren't running the Diva. They don't have defense matrix. They can't swallow up all of the damage. Instead, they've got to try and counteract it with aggression. The problem is, Yita's on the Winston. He doesn't have that Reinhardt shield. If Control is able to get this down, it's fight over.
I mean, they've only got 9 seconds right now. They've eaten a Shatter. There's no sound barrier there to save the Reaper. And without the Reaper, there's very little damage that this team is going to be doing. The Graviton holds them off for even longer. Tis a touch. No! Yeeter on the way in! Taken down by the twin barrels. Brad locking it down. That Mei twerp comp. Like, it's hard to watch, man. It's a tough one. You just bash your head into it and pray it works, but it didn't for Pogfish.
You can't even dive it because Tempo are running Dwarfle on the Zarya. So if the dive comes through, you go for, say, the Tourbillon, he's just going to get bubbled. And then the peel is there immediately, and you're going to be frozen up by the main, you're going to be packaged and parceled and sent back to your spawn room. In fact, Dwarfle for me was doing such a good job. For Tempo was in that position you want a Zarya to be, right? Doing a lot of damage, quietly building ultimates, quietly peeling for the supports and not going down. That's the most crucial thing about how Tempo were able to hold their defense. We very rarely actually saw them lose players in the first moments of the fight, whereas Pogfish, because they got chipped down by the Mei, the Tourbillon, and the Zarya spam, were normally on the wrong end of the kill feed 9 times out of 10 on the first go. Now they've got to full hold Tempo. That means they're going to go with a very mobile composition. So even if they lose a member, they can very quickly get them back. Yita is going to be so quick to move from respawn room back into the fight. You've even got Crocodile on the Mercy to give Mudge, yes, an extra little bit of oomph on the Pharah. but also to have that resurrection in place so that the kill isn't felt nearly as hard as Tempo's.
I mean, trying for the recontest here is risky. It's just one tick. Even with Wrecking Ball, getting that back in on time is going to be so difficult. It's going to take a Herculean effort from this team. They've got a lot of spam. They've taken down Prince Willie. Oh, this is such a good place for them to go in, get a boatload of ult charge, and start running this push, honestly, further and further into the map, because they're going to gain so much more than Tempo are from this.
Oh my goodness. The mind games. Yuta just puts them as if it's golf right into side room. And Merch is able to put 80% of a barrage in that side room spam alone. Tempo and I are going to be putting measures in to counteract that. Pharah, this guy's suddenly a lot less safe. Brad is going to be going onto the Widowmaker, and you can't even go for the grind style that we saw Pogfish play just now with Willow going onto the Sombra. The second you get close to this fight, your wings are going to be clipped.
It's all about timing and setup. Back onto the dive for Tempo. They're just staging, right? As long as Brad's got space, they're happy. He's already taken down Merge. The res is there. It does come through. But underneath the bell, he's shooting at his little toesies. And that's the other DPS out of the fight. A huge leg up against Pogfish.
I mean, that shot. That bell offers you a lot of protection, but apparently not the underneath of it. And now if you're Pogfish, you've got to try and get back into the fight as quickly as possible. Yukon Ghost is coming on to the Tracer while just trying to keep the fight alive. He's got Nano. If he's able to survive for the rest of his team to come through, they can pull this back door, but the Ana is gone.
It's such a tall order. And yeah, with UK Ghost now out, Yeater is pretty much the only thing, but there aren't exactly the most people here to try and help with this Wrecking Ball. Tempo will have the first recontest, though. Their players are a lot closer. They'll get the Wrecking Ball on point just a touch away from this tick. And you know what? They'll get it up one, looking for a second. And Brad's got the far head of the sky again here. This is exactly what we expect from these teams, Mox. This is the high-level Tranquility tier stuff. They're not making any mistakes. They're cleanly finding all these frags to clean up. Brad will get taken out eventually, though, by Pogfish, who have enough members back on this point to get a proper recontesting. But there's more mines from Prince Willie.
Yeah, they managed to get the Widow by putting the Tracer in as bait, but that is a nanoed hamster. That is going to be extremely hard to displace. Mush can come back with the barrage, is able to get one Winston out, but it's just not enough for Pogfish to be able to find their feet back.
No, it's a solid try, but I mean, it all started with that shot beneath the bell. You know, the bell, it's a lot like American healthcare, right? It protects pretty much only your vital organs.
And you have to have health insurance, I'm sure, to find any sort of betterment from it as well. Oh my goodness, that's a sick play. I'm 100% expecting Widowmakers to really park themselves on that Hanamura ledge and try and find that similar shot in all of my ranked and quick play games. But can we just appreciate this play of the game? Look at how that Pharah just gets to shoot into side of fish in an absolute barrel. Because Tempo, they saw the Hammond, they saw a juicy target, they saw something that they would immediately be able to kill and charge up so many ultimates so quickly on. And they fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. As soon as they parked themselves into the side room, they denied themselves the sightline onto the sky. They denied themselves actually being able to see the Pharah hitting them. The Pharah doesn't need to see them to still do splash damage.
Look, Monks, it was a pretty play, but pretty doesn't pay the bills right now. It's all about Tempo putting up points with, well, I'm not going to call it an ugly composition. It worked and it looked good. It didn't look good for Pogfish. That Mei is causing some havoc. And I think it all comes down to the fact that they're trying to dive into Mei Torb, and that's just a tall order. I did like the Widow swap. Actually, Willow moving over to the Widow was a really good idea there because Pogfish were giving them so much, or pardon me, Tempo were giving them so much space to work with. I'll just put a Widow on that sideline since the Symmetra's not doing all that much for you anyways. But despite their best swaps, despite their best efforts, that Mei Torb is just giving them hell. And especially on a map type like 2CP, that's just going to be it, especially with the map, or especially with the, pardon me, the ultimate advantage that it gained them.
I mean, I liked the Widow swap. The problem was, though, that it came so late.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we see the Symmetra's cheese. It works, but it works when it works on the first fight. Sometimes the second, if you're lucky, sometimes you're able to milk one tick per push, but that was just not happening when you're being chipped down by the Mei, by the Tourbillon. Every single time you try and put your teleporter up, it's immediately hoisted above your head and then destroyed in a matter of seconds. And as soon as Tempo saw that the composition that they were running when they initially rolled out on their attack round on Hanamura wasn't working, we saw that instant swap. We saw that understanding, that light switch moment where they go, okay, do you know what? If that's not working, we'll have a Widowmaker. And that Widowmaker was finding so much value. That was half of the reason why Pogfish weren't able to actually claw themselves back up in the recontests. They were able to have the spawns, they were able to keep themselves alive just long enough for another team member to tag in, but no one was able to turn around to detach themselves from the fight that was going on point to deal with the Widowmaker. And she got so much value because of it. That was the play that Pogfish tried to set up, but they tried to set it up literally on the last push available to them. And moving into King's Row, this isn't a problem that is necessarily sidelined and compartmentalized to Hanamura alone. If you're not able to identify when you need to swap, King's Row has that option of being absolutely brutal. Because yes, Street Phase is a free pass if you're able to move past that point. But you have to actually be able to walk onto point and safely pick it up. And if you're not able to counterplay around the DPS that's being run against you, you're gonna get jumped, you're gonna get dived, you're gonna get flanked, and you're gonna get completely fed up of playing.
All right, so we're second time around. Willow's back on the Mei. This time they're playing Orion into it. That's almost for certain. Laskin on the Sigma. I'm kind of here for it. It's not a Zarya, it's not a Diva, which may be a little bit more effective for getting through that choke, but... Oh no. Oh god, what are they doing?
You made the
They're
rookie
playing musical
mistake
chairs. Oh,
of
God.
talking about the attacking team's composition. Do you know what
okay,
I'm
right.
so nostalgic for this defending side? Willow's on the Mei, and I love defensive Mei on King's Row because that wall... We talk about how brutal it can be to be stopped in those double gates on Hanamura Courtyard. Gates on King's Row A is just as brutal. If you get separated, that's why we see teams opt into the Symmetra to go for this first initial teleport onto
no.
Data Roof and
going for
bypass
it.
it completely.
Oh no. Hold up, hold up, hold up.
Let's
Let's go! Bastion's up on the high ground. Brad's the only one who's capable of breaking that shield. There's so much point for this. Wait, this may have been just the perfect pick. What? That's the skybox, my friend. They have to wrap around. There's a guaranteed tick, maybe even two. You get the Bastion, but there's already a perfect positioning for Pogfish. They've gotten what they wanted out of this push. Even if you win this fight, you're feeling great if you're the red team. Have a rotate around through Hotel is exactly what they're looking for. Great wall, though, by Willow to shut that down. It's a one fight for tempo, but it's a little bittersweet.
And this is what we wanted to see from Pogfish on Hanamura. Get the ticks needed with that composition, and then swap. They're not being stubborn, they're immediately seeing that they found as much value as they would with this composition, and now they're going to be putting Yukon Ghost back onto the Sombra, merge onto the Reaper, and offering a horrible crossfire for Tempo to try and turn around and deal with.
Well, we can add that to the list of things I didn't think I'd see in a Transcendence here semi-final, but this Shatter needs to be another one. Misses big time. The HP, though, luckily keeping the Reinhardt up off of the Coalescence. It's now used for a counter engagement. Shatters big out of Yeater to end things. And you know what? It's a slam-a-jam for the A point. It's all they needed to win it. And now they've got a few ultimates to head into the second.
And now they can go as aggressive as they'd like because Tempo are missing half of their team. They can't push Pogfish back into choke. They don't have the Coalescence. They're getting staggered outdoor. There is going to be so much free movement on this payload. And you are going to be at a huge disadvantage when this next fight breaks out because you just do not have the sustain available that is going to be offered to Pogfish. Yes, you're going to be hitting that blizzard, but you've got to actually survive long enough for it to be built up.
Yeah, they'll probably get it here in the second point, but there's so many things for Pogfish. If Pogfish are aggressive right now, they should be all right. They just want to hold this corner, keep their space, play the neutral game. Both the Ryan swinging arms. Big wall from Willow. Can they capitalize? They should be able to destroy that pillar and keep their Reinhardt up, but it's the Blizzard that you're really worried about. With Yeater out of the way, this fight's already been decided. That ultimate may actually have not necessarily been needed mixed in all that.
They wanted to secure the pick onto the Reinhardt because as soon as you secure the pick onto the Reinhardt, you can see the effect it has on Pogfish. They move backwards. And they move back into choke, and now you can hold them. You can really hold that choke with Deadeye, with Graviton, zone them out.
You can't hold it with the wall anymore, though, and the EMP takes away the Deadeye. Everything you just said was canceled by the EMP and the kill onto the Mei. You know, it should have gone the way of Tempo, but Pogfish have played this beautifully so far. They need a couple more ultimates to get through here, and in fact, it's become a pretty expensive fight for them. They've got the space, though, and they're making the most of it.
Yeah, Pogfish moving forward with that Coalescence, trying to keep this payload moving. They know that Tempo have exhausted their most powerful ultimates. And now Pogfish can go as aggressive as they'd like, knowing full well there isn't that insane amount of punishment that was available in that last team fight they were still able to endure. Worse, if they're able to pick up this next fight, they're going to be able to place themselves onto high ground. And merge with this Death Blossom is something that Tempo have to watch out for. They don't have anything that can immediately shut it down aside from Prince Willy's Shadow, and you want to hold that to have the presence against Yeeter.
The positioning from Pogfish right now is gorgeous, but right on the high ground. I've seen this guy's Honda before. It can be a threat. Merge in the backline is a bigger one, though, and that's the first Death Blossom we have seen do that much damage all night. Yes, it only caught one, but the health bars are just so low for Tempo. It's an easy cleanup for the rest of Pogfish.
Now we have that standoff that we get to see so often, Shatter versus Shatter. And there's follow-up. Willow's got the Blizzard. Become Ghost and Last can gonna be hitting their ultimates too.
Oh, it's gorgeous stuff right now from Pogfish. The Graviton looks to end things. Blizzard for a disengage, though, is just do beautifully for Tempo. The Shatter lands on the 2. Is the follow-up there is the big question for Pogfish. Absolutely not. Split away from their main tank. Prince Willy has done a fantastic job of cutting this team right in two.
You know what I love? I love it when defending teams, when they're losing a battle on point C, swap onto either a Bastion, a Widowmaker, or as we're seeing right now, a Torbjorn. Because it shuts down so much of Pogfish's momentum. It cuts them out of the space. It doesn't allow for Merge and Yukon Ghost to go as freely as they'd like into the backline. And worse, it doesn't let the EMP setup be as normal as they'd like.
Oh boy, the EMP is nice, but the Torbjorn's nicer. And now Willow's taking his turn on the Honda, looking pretty strong as well. I mean, it's a counter Soundberry, but it didn't cost anything more than that for Tempo to take away that fight.
Yukon Ghost did not want to EMP at that moment. That's the panic EMP. You can see the Sombra gets caught out, has EMP, knows that the team is there to try and move forward, uses the EMP in the hopes that it will hit enough members to warrant Pogfish from moving forward, but you've still got to deal with all of that chip damage coming in from the Torbjorn turret.
It's a real hard competition to play into. We're back on the Torbjorn that caused him so much trouble in Hanamura. Now it's their turn to feel the hurt. There's a Graviton, but a nice wall by Merge is going to keep him alive. Counter push now, waiting for Crocodile to get up. Oh my god! What a charge by Yeeter. Jumps behind him, sends him back into the team. They don't even need the Sound Barrier now to hold this one. The Shatter is a big whip, though, as Merge goes down the drain due to Lilith, the courtesy of that Lucio. It's whether or not they reach it in the map is a big question. Dwaffle's not able to get there in time, and Pogfish finish off Kings with just over 2 minutes.
I mean, Dwaffle would have been able to make it in time, but Yeeter actually slams him right back against that wall with the Reinhardt pin. And we are going to see a completed King's Row. 2 minutes and 18 seconds remaining in the clock for Pogfish, and a lot of that is down to how quickly they were able to bypass that Streets phase. If they hadn't been able to navigate Streets phase as easily as they were, though, that time bank could easily have been under a minute. And that's the danger with point C. If you don't have enough time banked up, you don't have enough access to those seconds. In the defense, the second they win a single fight in that space, get access to so many easy sightlines where they can pick one member of your composition off and force you to wait yet another 30 seconds.
So now we've seen Pogfish finish the map. I think the question is less, can Pogfish stop Tempo? I think the question is more so, can Tempo finish the map, and in how much time?
I mean, look at the composition that they're running in. This could well be the rookie mistake of talking about the attacking side before they come out of spawn doors, but this is something that we've seen Tempo be comfortable on. This Reaper has been working out well for them, because even if you don't necessarily land as many into your ultimate, it still pulls out abilities from the other side. Most importantly, it places Crocodile in that position where he really has to worry about when to use Sound Barrier. So you're doing everything you possibly can in your power with the Sombra to make sure that Lilith does not have access to his when Lastborn wants to put that Graviton through.
Yeah, right now though, it's all about this neutral game. There's so much pressure on the red Rhine. Yeeter running in with the shield to not get walled off here. Willow's being spammed backwards though very, very effectively by Laskin on the Zarya, not allowing the Mei to get as close as she wants to. Now they can move in rent-free, but it's Tempo actually coming out ahead as it's traded out for their off tank. They don't quite have the space they want. Their Reinhardt's way too low to be moving forward right now. They need to be a lot more careful about that push box. That may have just given it up.
Oh, just going for the Coalescence. Pogfish want to keep control of this point, but the Coalescence is not enough to try and keep your Reaper alive through the mate, and now you've left yourself without that ultimate, that sustain, for when the Blizzard comes through.
It was almost such a perfect shatter, but now Pogfish are coming in. They've got the pincer. They're coming from both spawn and inside of hotel right now. Tempo's got to worry about both their sides, but they're taking care of it perfectly fine. First taking out the Zarya, now worrying about the Reinhardt. The sound barrier is nice, but it's not going to help keep them up for too much longer.
Blizzard didn't get as much value as it wanted. Doesn't get the bodies the Tempo needed, but it does clear the point of Pogfish long enough for Tempo to try and keep a presence on it. Remember, they have the faster respawns, they're about to hit the Graviton, and Pogfish just used both of their support ultimates. They won't have the sustain unless Odd is able to come up with a miracle blade.
Got a chance. Yeah. Making me believe right now. Merge, though, he's just lost too many teammates to go back in for this one. They'll get out of dodge as quickly as they can, or at least get sent back to spawn the old-fashioned way. Seems like Merge is choosing the fast pass there, and you know what? It's a point A for Tempo, but damn did they have to work for it, Mox.
Pogfish may well make them work for these street space as well. You've got the Coalescence. If you really want to try and challenge Tempo for this ground, if you really want to try and bait this Graviton out from this attacking team and make sure that they have to spend longer in street space than you yourself, you can absolutely try and challenge with these heavy hitting ultimates. Brad's actually going to go on to the Turbo and sees that You Can't Ghost is going to go onto the Tracer Axe. Just the same, you know, mosquito spray to keep that backline flank away.
Oh my god, it's an aggressive push from Pogfish, but with the help of the Coalescence, they might just be able to do this one. All the ultimates being thrown out at one time. If they don't find the kills now, it's going to be Tempo swinging back twice as hard. Brad's already taken out Merge, completely cut this push in half without the help of the Reaper to do damage. And an easy counter push off the back of a sound barrier from Lilith is going to gain Tempo the space and get them through the choke.
Such a risky play when you go for that challenge and when you put that many ultimates into a fight to make sure that you push Tempo out of streets and back into that choke where you can hold them. High risk, high reward, and it does not work out in Pogfish's favor. And now they put themselves at a huge disadvantage when it comes to this next fight as well. They're not going to be able to have the Death Blossom, the Blizzard to come in and force Tempo to take a step back. Instead, the ults are a lot more conditional. The shatter has got to be able to land.
Does it? Oh! The counter shatter doesn't either, but the wall has already been deadly enough. The Reinhardt's health bars are getting so dangerously low. Prince Billy's the one, though, who's really in trouble. Merge traded out for him, though, somehow. By God's grace, his Reinhardt is kept alive. It's a miracle of all things. It allows Pogfish to push forward now off the back of their Coalescence and try and engage here. But Tempo aren't done with this fight yet, Mox.
They're going to use that Molten Core to force Pogfish to take a big step backwards, and that means that they can use that Graviton to keep this defending side in bay.
Keep him in check, keep him in spawn, keep him exactly where you want to. The only thing they have to deal with now is this Reaper and the Mei on the cart, and they are going to be soaring on to a point C. We asked the question marks, question of if they complete it and how quickly. Well, right now, that time bank's looking mighty fine.
Well, remember, they have the Blizzard. They wait a little bit, they'll have that Coalescence to surge forward. It's not that same kill potential as is available for Pogfish when it comes to that Blizzard cleanup, though. Blizzard and Death Blossom together are absolutely deadly. Look, he's been so good with these sound barriers, even now, trying to hide himself away from the rest of the team, make sure that he's able to hit that beat to the ground to save them.
Well, they engage with the Blizzard to start things off. Wall off attempted on the Reinhardt, but this Blizzard overall has been a big whiff. Counter shatter now on the Teeter. It's falling apart for the defense. They tried to make the first move, and it was the correct to do exactly that, but execution, well, just barely not a passing grade.
They go for a very telegraphed play. They try to use the Death Blossom as the follow-up, and Prince really uses it perfectly and just pins the Reaper. Now we're gonna see, once again, both of these teams opting for that sideline style of fight. Willow onto the Widowmaker, You Can't Ghost onto the Hanzo. Trying to set up some form of crossfire, trying to take advantage of the fact that both of these teams are gonna have the handspill in the frontline fight.
There's more ultimates up for Pogfish. They're going aggressive again off of another Coalescence. Yeeter Shadow is really the only thing that could rightfully close this fight out. Tempo kind of lacked things as well, though. Other than this Molten Core, they're going to get them kills. Brad's got one off the back, but the Shatter's huge going the other direction. Yeeter's taking Prince Willie square into a wall and back to spawn. Pogfish hold on for one more.
This is dangerous if you're Tempo. We talked about how hard it is. The second you lose a fight on point C, you have to invest so heavily in actually being able to get safely back onto that payload. Graviton is there, but you don't have anything to really use that follow-up damage to turn it into a pick potential. And worse, you can't Ghost because he's stuck with the Hanzo. He's got the Dragon Strike. He can defensively use that ultimate to make sure Tempo do not commit when the Zarya grabs.
Yeah, even without grab here, this push is deadly. You can't Ghost, exactly like you said, throwing it in to make sure this grab isn't effective. In fact, he's caught Lilty out in the meantime. Fantastic stuff from Pogfish, and aggressive Pogfish, proactive Pogfish is a really good look for him.
Dragon Strike and Graviton. It's a tale as old as Overwatch. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be an allied Graviton for the Dragon Strike to find value. And now, if you're Tempo, yes, you've swapped the Brad onto the Hanzo, but he hasn't been able to build up that Dragon Strike. You just used your Graviton, your best initiating tool. Instead, you've got two support ultimates, but you can't double stack them.
Pulls both ways, sustain all over. He's trying to run past the shield to get a shatter on the back line. He can't do it successfully. Fantastic job by Prince Willie to keep the team alive and then come in for a bigger shatter. My God! Sparing absolutely nobody on his way in. His team still got to grab it, or Dragon, to keep this next one going.
Dude, that's all. They used both support ultimates against a team that now has Graviton, that now has Blizzard, and now has Yida onto the Hammond to make sure his team, the Zarya, the Mei, have the time to actually come back and use them.
It's a close one here. The Blizzard and Grab are likely to be effective with a minute left on the clock as well. Losing this fight is not a fun option for Tempo, but maybe the one they're taking is Pogfish have come in off the back of that Blizzard and Grab and gotten themselves the tank and the Mei. That should be enough to send them back to spawn. It's last fight though, Mux.
It's last fight, and now it all comes down to the waffle. This Zarya, are you able to build Graviton up in the time needed? Because you've got the Dragon Strike. The Brad's going to be holding it, hoping that the offlane's able to come into it, but you still have to worry. Pogfish can still pull into that familiar play. Use the Dragon Strike of their own to keep the team at bay.
Yeah, and I think that's your best option as well. Crocodile's coming up on a Soundbarrier that could be critical to them winning this, but they're pushing aggressive. They got the Reinhardt first. Again, the tanks have no clue where they are. They're getting put through the damn spin cycle by Yeeter right now. The Dragon to solidify things off here with 8 seconds on the clock should be enough to get Pogfish another map win and put them at match point. I mean, there's a Blizzard, but it's high hopes. Yeeter hits the snipe with the Fire Strike, and that should be it, Mox. Pogfish bringing themselves up 2-0 at halftime.
Well, the Hammond is still rolling around that cart. In fact, Waffle's even onto the Diva just to use the boosters to get back in this fight. So we know how desperate both of these teams can be, how very, very, very much they stay in this fight, but that Mei wall is beautiful, cuts off Tempo's coming back in.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, there's no chance, right? We're in Transcendence here. These teams are solid enough that they should be cleaning up these staggers every single time. And great job at Pogfish for doing so, because I think that's the third time that we've seen some really extended staggers taken all the way by them. They're staying calm, they're keeping their target focus good, and they're closing these games out. They look fresh as ever.
And I mean, they're not stubborn either. Now we're seeing the adaptation that we wanted to see, that we didn't get to see in the earlier map where the sides were a little bit skewed against them. And you really do have to come from the perspective from Tempo as well. They once again know what they need to do. They once again know the composition that is best suited to them. We see the swaps come through. We see the contests. We see that they are putting into play things that try and counterbalance Pogfish's win conditions that the enemy team has set up of their own. But there's these tiny little misplays, these tiny little intricacies where Pogfish are just able to pull ahead. And for me, that comes in the form of support ultimate usage. There is a golden rule in Overwatch. Never, 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 never double stack both of your support ults in one fight. Never. How many nevers were that? You know, I'm a support main, so it's something that I feel extremely strongly about. It's something that I'll go into voice comms and say, hey, Moira, I've got, not Moira, I've got coalescence. Hey, Lucio, I've got Sound Barrier. Don't use your coalescence, please. We'll use it for the next fight. And that's something that Tempo struggled with. They had the chance, they had the shot. They were able to win the fight by double stacking those support ultimates, but it was such a heavy, costly investment. Because Kings Row Point C, they were able to use it to win the first half of that map. There's still a recontest. The defending side always is going to be able to get back into the fight far faster than anyone from your side. And we actually saw Pogfish actually hold on to their really heavy hitting ultimates as soon as they saw Sound Barrier, as soon as they saw Coalescence, because they understood if they lost the battle there, they could still win the war. They could still walk away with King's Row. And you have to ask yourself, when Tempo were falling foul of that Blizzard, when they were falling foul of that Graviton, what would have been the turnaround if they'd still had one of the support ultimates, if they'd still had something like a Sound Barrier to bail themselves out?
Well, it's within reach right now for Tempo. They've got halftime to figure out what's going wrong. Ladies and gents, we'll be back in 10. So keep your eyes on your screens, your butts right in those seats. Overwatch Tranquility continues in just a bit.
Thinking now and then they come around. Little do I know about you now. Though I'm pretty sure that you're the one. Go around the night and have some fun. Something about the way you make me feel. Everything about you can be real. I'll do anything to have you here, my dear.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the semifinals. Tempo versus Pogfish. Second half of the match kicking off now. Pogfish up 2-0, not a match point. I was mistaken. This is a best of 7 or a first of 4. Better rule set. So we're only about halfway there to Pogfish taking away a spot in the grand finals. My name is Dorian. I'm joined by the always lovely Moxie by my side. We've seen a lot of stuff in this match. The last one was so good for tempo, but there's just that one blemish that's you can't really ignore of the double sport ultimates, but they had their moments, and honestly, Pogfish on the other end are looking unstoppable. This is a good one.
I mean, honestly, that was the only real time that I saw tempo support lineup really mess up. We've been seeing these Lucios deal so well with EMPs, deal so well with blizzards. They always have Silent Barrier up, they always hide and don't get caught out by it and come in clutch and are able to connect that beat to the floor. And it becomes a question of who has the better follow-up available to them when that event occurs. And I hope, fingers crossed, that we're going to see that continue yet again. Because yes, stacking your support ultimates is indeed a big no-no, but it's something that can be fixed. It's something that can be remedied, and it was the only real time that we saw that actually happen. The rest of the time, Tempo have been good. Like I said, they understand what they're trying to do. They come in with compositions, they come in with counter picks and all these weird, wacky ways of trying to take away the power from Pogfish's DPS lineup. And moving in, looking at the next map that seems to be Havana, we're going to have that focus yet again on these DPS brawls because you have to be able to win that matchup on Havana. The second you lose that fight, you lose high ground, you lose 75% of say in how the team fight goes down.
Yeah, and if there's one thing I want to see right now from these DPS, it's actually from Pogfish. I want to see Willow get off the May. I want to see Willow's Widowmaker. I know it's in there. I know it's really good. Please, please just... It's a personal thing. Just I want to see it. It's not really like it's necessarily the strongest or, the May's been good. So they'll probably go for a spawn camp with it. But come on. I want to see some heads fall off.
Well, maybe it's not going to be just the May. We've seen Farah. And everyone knows of everyone's favorite spawn camp strategy of Havana A, where you grab a Mercy, you grab a Farah, and you just slide across that rooftop. It's so hard for you to actually hit that DPS in the sky because the second you actually get a sightline on her, you've stepped not just into the Farah's line of sight, but the entire rest of her teams as well. And that doesn't really end well for you.
Nope, not in the least. Here come the compositions, though. What are we going to be playing here, Mox?
It's not Farah, it's Echo instead. This Farah's like the poor person's Echo, right? The same sort of idea, setting up that crossfire, being that annoyance in the sky where you have to sort of draw your attention towards to deal with, which allows the rest of the team, in particular that DPS lineup, to be able to have a little bit more freedom. And this is what we're going to be seeing Tempo really try to lean into with this very aggressive sort of hold where you've got the speed boost, which is still going to be on that Lucio to use that boost just in case things take a turn for the worse. But you don't necessarily have to sacrifice support lineup as well to keep the Echo up. You've got more sustain, you can stick around with the Moira.
See what we got here. Tempo trying to hold the spawn. The wall hasn't been used yet. A much more neutral, game-oriented Pogfish right now. They want to win these fights before they happen. In fact, they don't want to take fights at all. They just want to be going for picks left and right here. They're struggling to break out of the spawn, though, and get the space that they need to do that. The nice part is, though, there's still 3 doors here that Widowmaker can get a pick anytime she, well, can actually get the pick. And they can start working their way out multiple sides at once.
The problem for them, though, is that their support is in the sky with the Farah, isn't there on the front line. Instead, you've got dinky little Zen all with Harmony trying to keep everybody up and alive in the face of a Mei, of a Rhine. And that's just not going to be enough to stand up to snuff.
But see, that's the thing. It doesn't matter how many picks this Reinhardt competition throws at him. There's just a chance that Pogfish finds one, right? Whether it's a headshot, whether it's a hook, it's going to happen. It's almost inevitable. This competition has done a fantastic job of breaking out of the spawn point. And Pogfish, well, they're going to start cruising through the nice streets.
Yeah, you may lack that sustainability that's available to the other side when running that Lucio and Moira, but you have so much more damage. But Moira just got a swap.
Okay.
It was literally just used to break the defense on doors. That's something that we see a lot of the time where you go for that Pharah, you go for that similar vein where the Echo was trying to draw attention away to let the rest of the team, when you have that Zenyatta, move safely out of the doors without being immediately preyed upon. Brad's going to be going over himself onto the Widowmaker. Now we are going to have that duel.
Brad's got some nice silence to work with, but you can't see Ghost. He's peeking around the left, peeking around the right. Finally catches a Lucio for his troubles, as well as the opposing Widowmaker. That's what we needed to really break this fight wide open, but the Blizzard is going to look to trade it back, and it's done so beautifully off the back of Willow. Now, poor Mercy. Oh my lord.
That's an overinvestment and a half.
It's about sending a message, Mog.
It's about asserting a little bit of domination, but now you have allowed Pogfish to see the two most powerful ultimates, the two ultimates that you want to hold Transcendence for, be used in front of your face. You can use this Transcendence to go aggressively, but oh my goodness, the shot, it's so clean.
Can he do it again? I would pay money to see him do it again. That would be amazing. Take out both the snipers in one. Yeah, double dip, go for it. You already got one. Go get your Twitch clip.
Do the roll, Brad. And this is the power that DPS has, right? If the fight is uneven, if you aren't able to keep up with the enemy Widowmaker, even when you've got that Transcendence, even when you've seen the other side use the Blizzard and the Graviton, you still don't move forward aggressively because Transcendence doesn't count against Widow headshots.
You can't Ghost, though. Has pushed this position pretty well. Brad, though, every single time the angle he's peeking from, a different one. Pretty much every single fight. Pogfish still have a chance here if they can find a pick. And you know what? They've got some. You can't see Ghost taking down Lilithy. And that's the big thing about this pick-based composition. It doesn't fall apart when you lose just one player. They can keep fighting for this. They can keep going because those picks could happen. They've committed trance, though, and they've already lost a good few. And while it may be able to fight a little bit longer, I think it may be running out of gas.
Yeah, you can see Ghost going down. Tempo still holding on to the shadow, still holding on to an awful lot of ultimates, actually. That is the gong for 30 seconds. Last fight territory. Brad tries to go for that beautiful clip again. Tries to end the fight before it starts, or at least get out that resurrection from Crocodile. But it's just not to be. Instead, you're going to be using those aggressive ultimates to try and shut down this fight before it can start.
Yeah, Tempo are almost definitely going to be pushing forward into this one. The Blizzard's down. That Reinhardt has a very, very large death wish. The Shadow secure things here. The Resurrect somehow manages to get an on in the midst of all of that. And the only last bit of hope that the attackers have, well, tied to one hamster in a big metal tin can. And that doesn't seem like a very good option. Tempo have come back again and gone for a full hold, Moxie. They did this on Hanamura before, and it's looking exactly the same.
We talked about it. We said how hard it can be for teams to be able to walk out of Havana when you're not able to contest the enemy's Widowmaker. And I think similar to how we were able to trace Tempo's success from Dwarfle and Willow in the previous maps, we see it in full from Brad. Because every single time Pogfish took a step forward, every single time they came out of spawn and tried to approach that payload once again, they were squirreled off into side rooms. They were being extremely cautious. They were trying to clear main road as quickly as they possibly could. And there wasn't really ever a moment where we saw the Widowmaker from the side of Pogfish have access to the same amount of tools and team peel that was there for Tempo's Widowmaker.
Oh, this is some pressure on the back of Pogfish. I mean, they didn't stand much of a chance of pulling this one off over on Hanamura, but here it's going to be even harder. That card's going to start pushing. It's going to get so close. You feel like you have to make some rash decisions on your way in, and Tempo set themselves up. I mean, these guys just feel like professionals at the salty run back, right? Like every time they lose a map, they just come back in. But remember, at some point, they have to break that cycle if they want to win this series.
Talking of breaking the cycles, Tempo are actually going to be opting into the same sort of attack and composition that Pogfish were running to try and get themselves safely out of these spawn doors, to try and bounce her exit on this very vulnerable Zenyatta. Even more vulnerable Anna, arguably, if the dive comes through onto the backline. But Pogfish are running the Zarya, running the Reinhardt. Dive is not going to be there. The backline pressure is going to come all in the form of this Echo. Pogfish, they're not running hit scan. This is a huge mistake. No Widowmaker, no McCree, no Ash, nothing to really put in the path of Brad.
Yeah, it's really all on You Can't See Ghost to hit some shots here, or some aggression. I love this from the main tanks, pushing forward, massive bit of support from them, and Prince Willie dropping way too low for comfort. In fact, going down even, as Pogfish take away a quick first fight. They've made a really, really big gap out of a small hole.
And they've been able to clear the sky as well. It's very difficult for something like an Echo and a Vara to get safely back into the sky, as it is to come into it when you've already bagged that space, especially because You Can't See Ghost has been able to hit that Dragon Strike even before Laskin. He's been able to breach the 50% barrier, and with Tempo grouping up all on main road, he's going to be looking to place that arrow right down the middle. He doesn't necessarily need to get picked to split the team.
Oh, that is huge. That's square into the forehead of the Reinhardt as well. It forces them to make an engagement. And you know what? They pushed forward as a team, Tempo did. And so they're going to be all right in this fight. The Nano Boost helps keep the Reinhardt up, gives Prince Willie a bit of an advantage going into this one, but a counter call lets us to push him right on back where he came from. Going to make it dangerous territory for both sides here. But remember, attackers have a massive advantage in that spawn is far closer. Well, this shatter could just end it all. Prince Willie looks for it, catches both the supports. That's going to be cleanup from them, and they head towards the yellow box of victory.
You could see the mental cogs in Prince Willie's head too, couldn't you? Don't shatter, don't shatter, don't shatter. As soon as Merge is out of the way and the Mei will out of it too, then the shatter comes through. You've got your duplication. You still have to worry about this last fight though. Pogfish still have a presence, can still buy time for Merge to come back in and seal Tempo's doom with this Blizzard.
So here's the thing. Merge has one Blizzard, but Tempo have two. They got one there. The duplicate, it's on to Brad. Okay, so extra shatters, I guess, but still counts. They've got so many ultimates to use. They're going to be throwing them out like they're nothing. Dragon Strike over top of the points as well, though, to keep it going for Pogfish. They got a chance here, but they need You Can't See Ghost to find a pick or something in this fight to even give them a solid shot at taking. In fact, they won't be able to do that. Tempo are going to even up the score just as quickly as they did over on Hanamura.
I mean, we expected this to be a close fight, right? Both of these guys very similar when it comes to that SR. Both of these guys already met in this tournament before, so they know each other's strategies. Like we said, Tempo were the ones to walk away with the victory, and we're beginning to see the Tempo that were able to take the win. We're able to take that 3-1 in the way that they've been playing these last maps. Havana was an absolute textbook. That Dragon Strike to split the team. Oh, it was absolutely beautiful. The holding of the shatter was even nicer. You don't want your ultimate to be cancelled by a Maywall. It's the most embarrassing thing. I would say it even goes above the shame of feeling it lost by a Zarya or a Winston bubble. And you could see holding on, holding on, holding on, having that sense, knowing that you've still got your team behind you, knowing that even if you go down, even if you give your life for it, the space that you've created is going to be enough for Tempo to brute force their way in, to keep themselves on that cart. Well, that's something that we get to see.
So we've hit this cycle. We've solidified it. We've seen Tempo clap back 2 times now in very strong force, might add, right? Those were not small full holds. Those were just like full holds on the maps where they did manage to get it. So for Tempo, it's about breaking this curse, but not only do they have to overcome the pattern that's really come across them, but also they've got to beat control point. You and I talked about this earlier, Mox. A team that's better on control point is oftentimes the one to take away the series. Just because you're playing it 2 times this quickly, and Pogfish took it away the first time, and they're the only team that we've seen play dive, I believe, even. Maybe a little bit out of tempo, but they didn't look comfortable to say the least.
Oh, remember, Pogfish were able to take the victory because they forced Tempo out of their comfort zone, out of the composition that they had initially come out on spawn, and that in itself on control point is a massive problem because you are in an ultimate race. As soon as that map starts, everyone is racing to hit that first Q button press, and when you're forced off of the pick that you come out with on spawn, you reset that ultimate buzz, you reset your chances, you have to wait even longer, do even more damage, get in a lot more times to actually be able to try and keep pace with the team that has been able to stick with their composition for the entire rest of the map. And we're starting to see Tempo stick to their guns. Pogfish have not been able to shift this team off of the composition that they've run out on spawn with since that first map. And this is going to make this control map a lot more interesting, because if Tempo are able to keep on the composition that they come out of spawn with, if they don't have to swap their DPS lineup to try and deal with all sorts of shenanigans that Pogfish put in their way, I think control point is going to be a lot different to that first initial round we saw on Oasis.
So, yeah, as well, I think the map plays into this one, right? We saw a lot of dive out of Pogfish, and luckily for them, they are starting off on Gardens, but Lijiang Tower, it offers itself up to a fair bit of Reinhardt that Tempo have really been favoring.
Yeah, Control Center is still the Reinhardt playground, in my opinion. Up close, the personal, you speed booster, and you swing that hammer around, but it's not Control Center at the moment. You have 3 maps of Lijiang, and Gardens is indeed the one to come up first. The Brad's using the symmetric teleporter to get everyone out of spawn a little bit faster, and then immediately going to be swapping onto the Reaper. And no, Pogfish, they don't have a sim of their own. They're not opting for the window turret strategy.
No, and it's going great for Pogfish, though. They've taken out the main tank, and while it may seem not so great to trade it, remember, one of these teams came in with 2, the other one came in with the Wrecking Ball, which is nice, but not exactly the space that they wanted, as now there's a Reaper up in his face, a Sombra trying to hack him out of his ball form, and pressuring them straight back to point. This Reinhardt just has a field day swinging at everything because of the lack of damage.
That Hammond is going to be so vulnerable as well. You can see Prince Willie being so careful not to put himself into You Can't See Ghost's path, knowing the second the Sombra sniffs him out, that is an EMP half charged on its own.
And great job by Pogfish so far, just making sure these kills come through. The hacks have been consistent onto the Wrecking Ball. They can't afford to lose a Sombra here, and they won't, but what Tempo can afford to do is make this fight expensive. It's going on forever. They've got an EMP over the top, and Pogfish are dropping one by one. Good Sombra though, to look for a counter engage by both sides though, as Lilith manages to land there. Death Blossom up for Merge. It's going to be the ultimate of choice to try and close things out. Can he land it? Is a big question. He's searching for the backline, but Tempo have fought their way in. The back of the Coalescence is going to be enough to carry this team onto a first tick.
Okay, so Tempo stack their support ultimates up again, but in my opinion, this is worth it. Because you stack those support ultimates to guarantee you were the one to pick up first percentage. And when you're running this composition, this dive-heavy composition, even if you're losing the fight, you are still going to be able to eke out so much point percentage before it actually flips.
Oh, that was gross. It snuck under the Winston bubble. Brad's in the back line, popping a Death Blossom in just for good measure. Oh, and down goes Laskin. This team's getting picked apart. The positioning for Pogfish completely ruined by the Primal Rage, but they're not out of it yet. While Yeeter's still alive, they've still got a chance. Merge pushing in for a spicy little bit of Death Blossom here. You can tell he's eyeballing up those supports, but Prince Willie coming in, giving them the backup they need to hold on to this point. And this is where the dive comes in, Mox. This is where that brutal stagger really gets effective.
39% and counting already picked up the Tempo. And now if you're Pogfish, you've got the Coalescence, you're going to have an EMP of your own, but you're waiting for your Sombra to be alive to actually try and set this one up. And unfortunately as well for Pogfish, yes you've got EMP, yes you've got Death Blossom, but Tempo are playing such a mobile composition, they're not really sticking together. If these ultimates come out, at maximum they're maybe going to hit half the team. It's no way going to guarantee you a full team wipe.
There is nice little bit of thing though. That Willis doesn't have a Sombra of their own. A counter EMP here could be nice, but oh no, Willis had to merge into the hole. It's misery all over for Pogfish. They didn't get their own EMP out, and now they're fighting for last fight territory, Mox.
This is the danger as well, because even if you win this fight, even if you come in and use all of these ultimates, Tempo can still stagger this out to 99%, and then Pogfish are in a position where they've used absolutely everything at their disposal, and Tempo just wait. They bank up ultimates and they come in, cash out in one last fight.
EMP over top. How little can Pogfish use to win this fight is the big question. EMP, Cole over top, not much else. They're going to have a lot to make this map count. They came into the fight with a big ultimate advantage, but the most important thing is they leave with it.
Reg waiting. He's trying to set this Death Blossom up. You can see Pogfish really don't want to use any of these ultimates unless their hand is absolutely forced. They are looking ahead, though. They are looking to the future. They know if Tempo are able to take any of these next fights, that is Gardens over and done with, unless the stagger is enough to let Pogfish come back with an EMP that has that stopping force that can shut down this dive just coming back and back and back.
It's a lot harder to take this point with dive than it was to hold on to it. In they go, the ball to boot him off. No, not much value found. Instead, it's going to be Soundbarrier to try and get tempo to the back line, but it hasn't gotten that much value. This Winston's still holding strong over on the bridge. Finally goes down, but it's Merge's death loss, and they got to be careful. It will get taken care of. Brad's going ham as well with a double shot. The fight's far from over, though. The Pogfish will be coming back in with staggers of their own to try and close this one out. No, there's not even a chance. Tempo shut them out.
And unfortunately, Pogfish, even if they come back, they've lost the Moira, they've lost the ultimate, the one thing that can try and keep them alive on this point, keep them alive for the CMP.
Reaper in Wrecking Ball as well. Honestly, this might be 6 for Pogfish. They've got a chance. No, big stuff by Lil T and Brad. Those are the 2 heroes he really needed to get out. That created some dangerous stagger potential. Finally gotten out of the way. Even though the Reinhardt and the Moira are alive, even though they have ultimates, it's not going to be enough to hold on to this point. They've got to fight for the last 2 mugs.
We talked about it. We said this may well be a different tempo that comes into this control map. That's exactly what we're seeing. This is a team that's comfortable. This is the team that's able to stick with the composition that they come out with initially on spawn and are therefore able to post competitive rates when it comes to ultimate charges in tandem to Pogfishers. Now we're going to be going to Control Center, and I think this is where we are going to see these tank lines really come into their own. This is much less about the DPS. This is much less about winning that brawl. You've got to be able to outplay the other Reinhardt, especially with all of the attention that both of these players, Willie and Yida, have been able to pick up with these shatters.
Oh my god. You know, it's not about the DPS necessarily, but this DPS comp from Tempo is potent. May, along with Junkrat here, you don't need the hit scan that bad, and you want to throw a ton of damage at the opposing Reinhardt. That's exactly what is getting. Prince Willie cannot afford to drop the shield right now for fear of just getting destroyed instantly. Brad's the first one to crack the fight wide open, and now it's Pogfish on the back foot.
It's so mean to come in with that amount of spam. And Yida is just forced to hold his shield up. He's getting close to the shatter, but even then, if you hit the ultimate, you're gonna be dead by the time you drop the shield and try and hit the hammer to the ground.
It's all about that effectiveness, and honestly, I feel like Tempo were far more so with this DPS comp.
Well, if you're Pogfish, you do have the Zara in place. So remember, you have that sort of seesaw when it comes to power dynamic. Junkrat is very good at spamming down tanks, but also very good at supercharging up the Zarya beam.
It's a classic bet, right? My Junkrat can do more damage than your Zarya, and with the Eater out of the way, there's nothing really to stop all that damage from coming through, much less with a Shatter on top of a Pogfish are landed on thick right now because they feel like they are locked in a spot. Oh no, are they gonna touch the doors? Oh, Waffle looks like he wants to touch the doors.
You know
I'm
what?
here for it.
If you're Pogfish, you don't want to go near choke. You're going to have to go for the rotation around point because you're just putting yourself to so much spam damage with this Junkrat. Just getting to spam all of these projectiles in, and even with Pogfish walking forward, they're going to be walking right into the blizzard.
You know, that's a blizzard in on top of the Graviton, a very, very dead Reinhardt. The Lucio somehow gets out with his life here. But still, Pogfish can't find the opening. This Junkrat is just putting on so much pressure. And then the second you try to avoid the Junkrat, well, there's a May.
And for Pogfish, even though they're about to hit that win condition of this blizzard, of this Death Blossom, you've still got to land it before these 2 support ultimates from Tempo come in. We know that they have absolutely no qualms in putting both Science Barrier and Coalescence in to guarantee themselves the fight win. With it being 73%, eking near that last fight territory, there's absolutely no reason to hold them.
Absolutely, and come to tire, how much value can Brad get? He's up in the back line. He's got 2 with boom! What a riptide to close things here for Tempo, trying to win them at least one fight, get him back into it, but that's quickly going to be traded back by Tempo, who are not letting this point go if their life depended on it. Pogfish looking to get locked out of second control point map, and Tempo breaking their back and forth curse to send them on to finally a lead in the series.
It's that understanding of when to use ultimates, of where to use ultimates. And I see it twice most clearly in that map. The first time I want to draw attention is when Tempo actually give up aggressive chokehold and pull back to point. In what I like to call the honey trap, right? You make it seem as if you don't care about the space that you're giving up. You allow the enemy team to walk in and you set the snap. And in that case, it was the Blizzard. Blizzard would catch far more people out in an open space than it would the enclosed space because you're not expecting it. And you're even grabbed straight into the middle of it. So it pretty much catches the entire team. And then the second time is that support stack when it comes to those ultimates. Because like we said, we normally have that rule where you don't go for the support stack. But what Tempo do is they identify that if they go for the dual support stack ultimate and they're able to win the fight, they have that much sustainability, there's not a fight afterwards. There is no reason to hold on to those ultimates when you could put both in, guarantee yourself the team fight win, and know that Pogfish aren't able to touch the point because even if they swap onto Hammond, even if they swap onto Tracer, there's a Mei wall in the way. And unfortunately, Tracer, Hammond, they can't go through walls. They're not ghosts.
I don't think anybody can at this point. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's not
Walls
just
tend to be one of the more consistent
right?
things in
And
Overwatch.
Symmetra, if the teleporter's set up before the wall comes through to block line of sight off, there's these tiny little intricacies, I guess. But Hammond and Tracer,
We'll take it.
not so much.
Right, they don't get through, but Tempo managed to send themselves on through to a map 6 with an advantage. We're going to a hybrid map. What do you think Pogfish are going for here? That's my big question, because it feels like even when Pogfish are winning, it's been Tempo in control for the most part. And when Tempo are winning, my God, it's just dominant, right? It's 100-0, its first point holds. Somehow, Pogfish have managed to bring themselves through and keep these 2 maps up. And while it's impressive, it doesn't feel like the kind of thing that gets you through a 7-map series. What can they change about that?
So for Tempo, a lot of the time we're seeing this team have one focus. They don't really have a sort of split attention composition. They don't have anything to try and slow Tempo down when it comes to pacing of fights. And that's why it very much feels like Tempo is in full control even when Pogfish have that point control. Because it's Tempo who decide when the fight begins, when the fight ends, and who is actually going to be dueling who. And I think if you're Pogfish, you really do have to try and find some moment, some way of splitting this team's attention, really make them try and decide on when to use Sound Barrier, on whether they should be peeling for that backline or trying to keep that front line still very much at the front, still keeping control of that. So you've got to start introducing these questions to try and fumble Tempo's position when it comes to that mentality.
Would you say they need to control the tempo?
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. I
It's
knew
such a
one of
low-hanging
us
fruit.
would be making
Look, we got a
that joke.
7-map series. I'm gonna run out of stupid jokes eventually.
It's fine. I'm just gonna completely rewrite all of the rules about duo stacking support ultimates. Apparently, because Tempo was really making me question every single thing we know about ultimate economy. And you know what? This is a composition that I love to see. I love to see on the attack. I love to see on the defense. This is aggression. You don't have the Zenyatta, but you do have the Ana, and that means that Pogfish, no matter what they run out with, are still going to have to be very careful about how their frontline operates, especially because they're not running a shield. Tankster is going to have so many antis, so many Bionades, and if Yida gets hit by one of those, the Roadhog is completely denied the ability to exist. So there is a massive focus on Laskin to use that defense matrix to deny that ability entirely.
Yeah, especially with some long-range hit scan on the other side of the map. Well, you know, Hanzo kind of counts as a sniper, and you need to be absorbing that damage anyways. Pogfish have made their way one of the high ground. Winston up. Defense matrix keeping him alive for the time being. Finally, that hook's going to hit, but again, so much healing coming in for this defensive side right now. They something to solidify this point, to really break it open, and taking care of that Ana is going to do exactly that for Tempo. That should be enough to stop this push, because they've really cut off a majority of the heals.
Yeah, Tankster, well, I was going to say still alive, but no, he's actually being bullied off. Pogfish still using that space, having a little bit more aggression, bullying Tempo off of the point, forcing them into these separate little pockets. We wanted to see it. We wanted to see Pogfish really force Tempo out of sorts, out of control. And Pogfish are able to reap the benefits. Getting into straight phase, they can go as aggressive as they'd like. They have control of the high ground, and that means you can't see Ghost dictates absolutely everything that goes down right now.
I'm actually curious to see these echoes being mixed in a good bit. It's something that, you know, a lot of the teams are following whatever they saw last in the Overwatch League, but the meta's really changed since then, so they can get a little bit more creative with it, mixing some of these more interesting characters. And honestly, I feel like the echoes been extremely powerful. Right now, though, Pogfish are using it to just make space. The mobility here is so good for them to just continue to push this card through. And yeah, it's going to get contested every once in a while, but these little duels are so much better for the attackers.
Well, what might be worse for the attackers is that swap Willow going to go onto the Tracer. And that means Otter is now target enemy number 1. You can already see trying to rotate, trying to make sure that you allow yourself to be there near the Roadhog with that hook ability if the Tracer comes looking for you. Because if you are denied that vein of healing, if your frontline is not allowed that Ana's ability, Tempo gets moved forward for free.
Well, Temple will try to move forward for free. Well, that's kind of a bigger question. The nanos use, the duplicates use. They are going all in right now, but Pogfish are trading it back beautifully. Merge, duplicated onto a Tracer, trying to hit some sort of stickiness onto him, but it's not quite working out yet. Trading 1-for-1 all over the place, but taking out Tenor is really going to be the straw that broke the camel's back for this defensive side, because they don't have the same amount of stain with their tanks. They don't have the Roadhog who can stealth steal. They don't have this awful diva that's just going to be defensive, just going to waste so much of the damage. The attackers can try and pull this one back, but they don't have the space to do it.
Well, what they didn't have was the Brad coming up absolutely clutch on that Echo, allowing Tempo to keep control of this point. You do lose Willow, and that means that Pogfish can use this numbers advantage, can know that their Ana is not going to get encroached upon by the DPS from Tempo, and they can try and move forward to try and grab that payload space back, but Tracer comes back so quickly, they've got to make a decision.
Yeah, they're looking to cap this really awkward back and forth off with a win, but it's going to be so hard for Pogfish, right? Those spawns get closer and closer. It's a relatively mobile team for the defense as well. It's looking like the same exact 5-minute contest that we've been seeing for the entirety of the map. Taking out the Mercy, though, is exactly what you need to force back the attackers right now, right? It's so hard to fully reset a team like this that has so much sustain, but you can definitely give yourself a leg up in the fight and make it so that they can't engage on you, which is exactly what Tempo have done. Keep them back, keep them off of this cart, and keep yourself going.
Well, you want an engagement, so how about a 7th member of your team? You can see Gus is looking to put that Bob in. Pressured out by the Tracer, but still able to hit the ability.
Oh, that's not a pretty Bob. Right in the doorway. I think it's just blocked LOS by a majority of that. You know, that's a hell of a door frame, Mux. I'll tell you that. It's got him enough, though, that the tank's able to push forward. The whole hog will catch out Willow. No DPS to clutch out for the defense. This time is finally B is taken by Pogfish.
Well, it's going to go into the Sombra. Actually, we're seeing a lot of changes coming through from Tempo, and this is when Tempo have been at their weakest, right? When they've been forced off of the composition they were most comfortable on. Oh, out comes the Tourbillon. This is just going to be absolute hell for Midge to play into. Absolute hell for all of Pogfish to play into, remember, because they still don't have a shield tank to block this damage.
No, there's a lot of spam being thrown their way, but again, the big question, does it overcome all the sustain that Pogfish have? And so far it has. They'll go for a remake here. Now he's just trying to nudge it around the corner. It's not going to manage to. Instead, the turret's going to town, and the defenders holding on, yet Tempo looks so good. And honestly, Moxie, if they manage to hold this cart, they are perfectly poised to try and take away the semifinals.
Midge used duplication to try and just buy enough space, enough attention away from the rest of the team to move forward, and is going to swap. I was going to say, you can't run Echo confidently into the composition that Tempo have put in your way. Not only are you going to be so vulnerable, so telegraphed as you come out of spawn, but you also have nothing really to try and deal with this Tourbillon turret. Instead, you have the Hanzo arrows now, you have that spam damage to pressure Prince Lily's shield down.
There's lots of pressure coming from this side, but the Nano is a tool that they have to try and keep this pushing forward as well. The anti-nade on the Prince Willy making so much space they can completely ignore the turret now, because this cart is cruising towards the end of Noombani with 2 minutes left on the clock as well. This could be a dangerous push from the attackers. A recontest now from Tempo, though, is really going to define the whole thing. That 7th member that you mentioned earlier, much better place this time, is going to be giving them hell on the cart.
Yeah, not pressured out under a Tracer. Turns out you can see Ghost able to set up a little bit better on the architecture there. And we will see Pogfish complete Noombani as in the slow-mo. Brad just loses his head, gets one tapped by that Ashe. And now we're seeing a team that was able to fully push Noombani. And that in itself, though, is a massive achievement. All of these points, Hybrid and Escort, become so very difficult to see that full finish when you have that massive big old disadvantage already stacked against you. Especially when Tempo are running that nuisance composition, right, of the Sombra, of the Tourbillon. If they were able to hit EMP in that last fight, I think we could have seen Pogfish full held.
I love the name, the nuisance comp. I gotta go.
I mean, it's the PG version of it, right? Family-friendly Overwatch caster right here, so nuisance comp is probably as PG as I'm alive as this Glaswegian is.
No,
allowed to
Moxie. It's
describe
everyone fit. It's Hog and Sphere. You know, like that's all. You know what? Let's see what they keep running here. Tempo now going on the attacking side, a completely different approach. They want to go for the dive sort of approach to this, and it offers a lot less free bullying compared to the Roadhog Diva composition that we saw at Pogfish run. And so that kind of brings into the question, right? Who's better on this dive right now? We've seen it out of both sides, but I feel like the difference maker has actually been in the DPS. The Brad's Echo has been insane for the dive.
Absolutely. I mean, the Brad has been doing well across the board on all of these heroes, and I think his Echo is definitely up there. We're seeing him survive, and that is what's setting him apart. Every single time his team need him to, he comes in at the very end, just when you think all hope has been lost for Tempo, and goes for that sort of last minute hero clutch. And he's able to come up, he has the mechanical skill to back him up. And for me, honestly, the question about who is better in the composition, not just in the dive, but on Numbani in general, is actually coming into question of supports, because we saw Roadhog be run. Pogfish continuously ran that Roadhog all the way up until they were forced to swap onto the Reinhardt on point C. What I didn't see was the hard Roadhog counter. I didn't see the anti-nades come through onto him, and I think a lot of that was actually down to Pogfish doing a lot of nuisance to that backline. Tempo's hands were entirely full a lot of the time on trying to keep themselves alive, and that meant the Ana ability, that Bionade, was used more often than not on the ground rather than on Yita's own skin. And that is something that Tempo are just going to be completely avoiding. They've got Tankster onto this Zenyatta, so you don't get bullied out of your ability. You still get that Orb of Discord to launch upon the head of the Roadhog, who is going to be so very vulnerable with 30% extra damage now lodged upon his name.
It's a big hold for Pogfish right now to keep themselves alive in the series. They've chosen this Roadhog Diva. It served them well on the attacking side. Defense is going to be a whole other option right now. That Winston is very low and taken down very quickly. Well done by Pogfish to keep that up for the time being, but with Merge going down, this push, this hold gets a little bit trickier for them. Brad's getting way too big for his britches, though, over the top of this fight, and that should be enough to hold on for Pogfish.
You look at the composition that Tempo are running, and it's extremely hard for them to actually translate this into picks. Yes, you've got the Discord, but as soon as Tex actually shows his face, he is going to be hooked. He is going to be dive bombed by Laskin, dive bombed by Merge, and then you've still got to worry about this damage boosted one-tap potential Ashe. And it means Pogfish are able to keep the damage in check. Tempo just cannot translate it into kills.
No, it's going to be a big problem for him to waffle, though finally he's gotten Merge at least out of the equation. Prince really could be in a bit of trouble here, though, if this hook connects. Oh, or the sleep, that works too. Trying to send off the edge of the map doesn't quite work for him, but the attackers, again, have lost their main tank on the way in. I'm not sure how you even do that, right? It's a big monkey. It's not like you're getting lost in, the clothing aisle or whatever. It's pretty hard to miss right now. And throwing in an EMP over top, well, that one's going to miss as well. There's absolutely no follow-up for this Mox. It feels like a little bit of desperation from Tempo, which is something we haven't really seen from them.
I'm looking at Willow. I'm looking at the hero portrait. I'm wondering if we're going to see this on the swap. Because you had the EMP. There it is. You had the EMP, you know that it was going to find very, very little, especially if high Pogfish were running and they just had access to so much that would allow them to survive it, right? Zoning Bob from You Can't See Ghost, zoning Bomb from Laskin, Whole Hog from Yida, making sure that if you don't catch every single member of this team, you don't get that EMP fight win. Now instead you've got the Widow who can try and go for the support to punish the fact that they don't have the shield, but Prince Willy misplaces the grapple, and Tempo are missing a tank yet again.
That's a rough way to go, especially in semis, right? Your tournament lifeline is running on this match. And honestly, they're lucky they're not watching the stream, because we can see the number of ultimates Pogfish have up right now.
It's not a nice number if you're a Tempo fan. They have the ultimates, they will have the minefield, they can drop this up, they're at so much space, but they've got to win the fight before Transcendence runs out.
And this bomb's not likely to be much larger, not to get them back into this fight. Pogfish can try with all their ultimates, but ultimates be damned. You're missing the main support, and that is about the biggest leg up that Tempo could have given themselves going into this fight, not to mention the fact that Brad is zoning everybody and their mother out of this point right now on the duplicated Roadhog. Builds coming in everywhere for Tempo. They may just have held on here and gotten through the A point.
Especially because Otto is taken down to the primal before the nano boost can come through. Tempo have been able to do it. They've been able to secure themselves point A, and now Numbani is shifting into their favor. This is the dynamic that we see. It's the seesaw, where on that point A, the defenders always have advantage, always have the chance to go for first blood, because every single time the attackers, before they're actually able to go for a pick, have to reveal themselves. And when you're running that Zenyatta, when you're running Hammonds and Winston, you are just meaty, chunky targets to be taken out before the fight starts. And that was where this team really struggled with. Street does not offer that advantage to the defenders unless they win a single one of these fights to buy it back.
The attackers have so much space to work with right now. For Tempo, it's all about making space. For Pogfish, it's about not getting picks off. But remember, it's dive from Tempo. It's a lot less potent when it comes down to these pick-based options. Meanwhile, on the other side, is a very dangerous damage-boosted Ashe. You can't see Ghost is going to lock it down. Give them a nice little... Oh! They better win this fight for that.
They have to. They are still around. They still have the Zenyatta, they still have the Discord, but they don't have the picks and door. They're about to run into a duplicated 650% extra ultimate charging Echo. And if you want to, you can duplicate onto the Sombra. You'll have EMP in seconds, and Tempo aren't even taking the fight. They're just backing out. They use Transcendence
It's right to back
for
out.
nothing.
I mean, look at the rest of the series. The entire series, they haven't been backing out soon enough. I think it's correct for them to do it here, at least out of principle.
A tough one, but now you're lacking the most sustaining ultimate to get yourself safely through the barrage of ultimates that Pogfish are going to be launching into you when you come calling. EMP has got to hit the team and solidify Tempo's win.
It's not going to hit the Mercy. The Valkyrie's still going to be there. Crocodile easily going to pop it. Keep the rest of the team up here. No, Brad finds a finish on the You Can't See Ghost. The tank still kept alive just barely here. Oh my lord, that Roadhog has just a shred of health to his name, but they've gotten through it appropriately. Tempo looking to finish off a couple more kills here and get them through B, but they're struggling to do even that. The res is through, the whole hog out from Brad. That may have been enough to push people off the point actually and do it just the hard way to get through, but Brad's got to put in some serious muscle in his own right on this Echo if they ever want to see the end of B.
The Lifty gets the res. And suddenly Tempo have access to both of their supports yet again, but the Winston bubble being used means that Laskin can now use that Diva Bomb, the threat of it, to zone the entire members of Tempo off this card.
Well, it did exactly that. It zoned, but it didn't find any kills, Mox. There's 5 floating around and just a Wrecking Ball to hold them back. They get through the point, but it's bittersweet because they're ending with less of a time bank than Pogfish should finish the map with.
But they do have both support ultimates, and Pogfish have nothing right now. You can see Tempo too. They want to move forward as quickly as possible. They're putting principally onto the Reinhardt so that they can aggressively use this Transcendence to get in. Willow is going to be just that little bit of a nuisance in the backline, try to draw attention, try to make sure that Io is focusing on the Sombra to keep the supports alive, rather than the Reinhardt barreling right towards them with a Zarya double to kill.
All on the back of Willow. How quickly can this EMP actually get out to shut this team down? Well, maybe they don't need it. Crocodile's already out. The EMP onto 3. Brad is just praying for some sort of a shot, and that is a very hopeful hook. One that's not going to be landing onto much of anything. Instead, it's Pogfish coming back in, fighting their way out. Flanks from both ends, and it's worked out beautifully to put an end to this Tempo.
The target focus. Pogfish needed one pick to stop that push, and they got it. The Roadhog yanks Tankster right out from the team, and Transcendence yanks right out with it. In fact, they're not even going to use it. They know 51 seconds left. They're opting for the speed boost. They're trying to go in, use the Widowmaker to get that first pick yet again, and hope that they're going to be able to stay in this fight long enough for that Graviton to come into fruition from the Waffle. It's a risky play though, because Pogfish have still got their comp and still got ults.
Well, 35 seconds. We're reaching final fight territory. Tempo need to reset now. Get the Waffle out, or whatever option you choose, do it now. 20 seconds on the clock, and this could just be us being sent on to a 3-3 match point.
You've got to tactically reset. You will have the Graviton. You managed to get the nano out from Otter, but you still have to worry about both DPS ultimates on the side of Pogfish.
Pogfish are coming in. They're hungry for a 7th map, Moxie. 5 seconds left. Who's the touch here?
They can't.
They're not going to touch.
They can't. The shot!
Really got there. The Graviton's actually huge here. It could have gotten him back in, but the Shatter. Oh no, it's big enough from Yeater to try and bring him back into it, as well as the Bob from You Can't See goes contesting the card that entire time. Overtime ticking down, and Pogfish are gonna send us on to a 7th Moxie. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Coming to Overwatch Tranquility for some semis.
Absolutely, we are going the full distance tonight. And oh my goodness, do you know what though? I don't know which team is going to win. Because both of these guys have shown strengths. Both of these guys have shown weaknesses. Both of these guys have shown target focus priority that's been perfect. Have shown understanding of ultimates. Have used ultimates mistakenly. And that has had major ramifications. And unfortunately for Tempo, that was, in my opinion, the swapping of your composition so late. Normally, you want to swap a composition when there's 1 minute 30 seconds on the clock left as that last result. That's the real cutoff time because that's when you're actually going to be able to have ultimates to challenge the other team. That doesn't swap. And so when you go for that Moira Lucio, you have to be able to get in, speed boost your way, brute force your way into a first pick, and then hope that that numbers advantage is going to be enough for you to actually stay power to power, shoulder to shoulder with the other side who have things like nanos, bobs, duplications to put into your path.
Ultimately, Mox, they have managed to stand toe-to-toe. They've been shoulder-to-shoulder. History states Tempo is going to come back in for the clapback, but can Pogfish rewrite exactly that? Ladies and gentlemen, in a couple minutes, we'll be back with the final map of this semifinals. We're going to 7 in just a bit. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're heading ourselves up into a match number 7 between Tempo and a Pogfish. It's Rialto to decide it all. Only one of these teams is going on. The other one's season ends right here, Moxie. The only difference now, we've had a side swap. Everything else stays the same. Who do you have? What do you think's happening here as we head into the last one?
I can see two different versions of Rialto. So, and a lot of it comes down to DPS because you look at how Rialto was set out and you look at all of the sight lines and how you walk out of spawn, and it's very, very familiar to a map that we've already had earlier, Havana. And you have to remember that grip, that iron hold that the Brad had, reigning the absolute terror in the streets of Havana. So if you're Pogfish, you've got to be able to step up to the plate. You have to be able to match wits with the DPS if you want to be able to traverse any part of Rialto outside of your spawn.
Yeah, there's a good chance this goes very ugly for Pogfish, which is what I'm worried about, right? I think it's great for them starting off of the defensive side, though. At least this time, right? You're setting the stakes, right? You're setting the pace. You have an objective now going into the second half, and they're not as scared of that full hold because the full hold comes through, and then all that Tempo had to do was push afterwards, which isn't really the hardest task. But right now, Pogfish, they're setting the stakes for the match. They're the ones deciding how far this one goes, and it's a good call to swap sides.
And the defense as well has some really nice stand on X spot to actually be able to keep a hold of at least Rialto A, right? You have that first corner,
Wait,
then
I think this is for real from Tempo.
Yeah.
I don't think they're kidding.
I think they actually didn't. So they have the Bastion, they're opting into the Torben alongside it. In fact, they're coming out with Orisa and Reinhardt. Oh, door. Pogfish cannot allow them to stay situated on this payload because Pogfish don't have an immediate stopping ultimate. They don't have a Blizzard, they don't have an EMP, they have nothing to make Tempo pause in their attack.
This Bastion's a problem. Tanner's taken out, though. No chance of an invulnerability. Oh, this is a beautiful angle. If you could just take out one of those supports, maybe one. Oh, God, that's an awful grapple. How on earth are you alive? Should not be, but got plenty of value now. Pushed back the Bastion off the cart. The problem has effectively been taken care of for the defense. It's going to be a lot harder for Willow to put in work now.
You just have to stop that Bastion from getting back onto that payload, but that's going to be very hard to do when they're running double shielding, and all of the Widow can just be shut down by those deployables.
I mean, the shields are just so low right now. Tempo struggling for position on top of this cart. They have the option of trying to wrap around the other side, but it's not exactly pretty, especially when Merge is putting in all this damage over top. This duplicate is about to be deadly.
Wait for it.
Up in. There it is. Oh, God. Maybe a fat charge. There he goes. Square into the team. Lands the shadow onto not much. Willow, though, on the other end, a nano boosted robot. My lord. Not giving him any breaks. 3 kills with the tank form.
Okay, Pogfish tried to go for the dive part. Tried to go for the drop down, pin the Bastion, go for the shadow with that ult charge. It's not enough, and that nano actually saves Willow, allows him to get back into that tank mode. We're just going to go into the Pharah, and you are going to be very vulnerable. Yes, you have a lot of spam damage, but the second you actually move into the sky, Willow's just going to have to look up and track you.
This is kind of ugly for Pogfish. That Transcend, I mean, it got you over the Molten Core. That's the only thing it did. You want so much more value from that. But now Willow gets to start farming at you in this turret form. You've got the turret of the Torbjorn continuing to just rattle off damage at you. This feels like a lost fight already for Pogfish, and we've only seen one member go down.
Oh, Anna is actually in the back, trying to duel Willow. Is not going to be able to win that one out, and Tempo still going to keep this payload moving. This is something that Pogfish are going to have to find some way to deal with. Now, though, if they win a single fight, that cut is going to be so far from Tempo's spawn that the Bastion is very, very, very unlikely to be able to actually survive long enough to set up. Especially with you can't see Ghost holding onto the Dragon Strike. Willow does not want to set up on the payload right now because the second he does, he's going to be taken out immediately.
Taken out before he got set up on the payload, Max. Guess your prophecy came true a little early in the Bastion here. I mean, it's just significantly less effective, right? With the high ground, with the open space, it's just harder to run.
Natural cover as well. Merge and you can't see Ghost can literally just hide behind these walls, pop out, spam a little bit of damage in, try and find a pick. Use this Dragon Strike with the way the Tempo are grouped up so close together, it's gonna split the entire team.
Oh, it's taking out the Arista. This Bastion's not setting up anytime soon. They're completely split apart by this. Great job by Pogfish for taking advantage of this, but honestly, I'm really surprised to see Willow still on the Bastion. I mean, you don't even want to force the tank form out at this point.
Oh, Lefty is gonna be able to take Merge out alongside. But the res is there, and the fire problem is very prevalent, and in fact, so too is Willow. Sticking with this Bastion, trying to keep control, keep tempo. Remember, the second you move on to that cart, Pogfish have got to find some form of stopping power, and now with the Brad moving on to the Widowmaker, Merge and you can see Ghosts are not as free as they would like to try and just hammer damage onto that Bastion. Willow's life has become a lot easier.
I mean, a lot is quite the statement to be made, especially when all this damage is being thrown their way. You can push forward, but you're not actually set up. Now that you're up with this high ground, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, can they get out? Oh, they've managed to just safely enough. Temple will continue their push forward here on Rialto, and the only thing that could have stopped their push was fatefully avoided.
I mean, you say fatefully avoided. There's a Batiste. There's a 25-second cooldown which grants you eternal life through that Diva's Arm in the form of Immortality Field. Checkpoint picked up for Tempo. Willow is asleep. Pogfish wants to try and move in on this one. But they just don't have the ultimates, don't have the Dragon Strike quite yet to try and force that Bastion once again off the card. And Tempo actually know the Dragon Strike is in play. Know that the second Willow goes back onto that payload, he's just not going to be able to get out in time, but he walks right into the Roadhog.
Oh, he'll be saved though by his Diva. The defense matrix so good. Yeeter's somehow able to out-heal all of that damage. Willow is like, it's less a Bastion and more a de facto Soldier 76 at this point. Oh, that pin hurts to watch. Tempo. What control they have over this game right now, Moxie.
Pogfish do have a little bit more say in this next fight though. Dragon Strike up and available. So Tempo going to be very careful about that positioning. Dragon Strike coming out. Forces Pogfish to take a step back, but they're still getting the picks. They're still coming up in the kill feed.
Wow, this Reinhardt is staying alive for exorbitant amounts of time. What on earth are Pogfish doing? Ultimate after ultimate. That was Dragon Strike and the Barrage in just like 1v6s.
It just want the Bastion out of the way. Tempo are not running a Mercy. The second that Willow goes down, this entire team composition crumbles, but they're putting so many ultimates into trying to get that Bastion out of the way. Now this loss can just become so much to loss.
Oh, that bomb could be deadly. It's up in the back line. It's taken out Otto. There's no level of support. Nanos the Reinhardt at the last second just to get the ultimate out of the way for fear of not being able to use it. But it doesn't get any value anyways. Resurrect does help out at least a little bit, but it's a lot of trouble right now as the shield is forced down and Willow can start going to town. Anti-nade on top of the Bastion, but no one's come even close to forcing this guy out of his position. Luckily though, with the ulti down, there should be enough space for Pogfish to at least move forward a little bit.
Especially with the Mortality Field already being forced out, but that Rhine Field Waffle trying to keep that Bastion up and alive. However, Pogfish have now achieved their goal. Right? The Bastion has been separated, the payload so far away. And everything that Tempo does, if they want to try and set that one up again, it's going to require an awful lot of ultimates to actually be able to pull off. And if Pogfish are able to play this right, they can hold on to ultimates of their own and come back into the fight swinging when Tempo are left out with absolutely nothing in their pocket.
Well, Tempo still got stuff in their pocket, and that name is Willow. Still, for whatever reason, on the Bastion. They've looked great on it. Moxie, you know how much I'm a fantasy. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Merge is gonna kill somebody here. There's no way he doesn't. This is an awkward pause.
I'm on the edge of my seat, and every single passing second, I'm just inching a little bit further off it. Because if this Reaper is not found out, if he's able to successfully intrude, Hengsa just set up that amplification matrix. Willow just got anti-naded. You get in, you get a pick on the Ana, you shut Tempo down with 1 minute left in the clock. He can't afford the reset.
Oh, that's a huge dragon. The invulnerability field just keeping him alive for so long. Finally comes through, takes out Waffle the Bastion though. Still a bit of a problem. Not though for Pogfish, whose defense is holding strong for the time being. This Omnic seems to have a bit more trouble when he doesn't have the space to work with.
Well, it's going to have a lot more trouble. It's going to be off the Bastion onto the Reaper. It's coming through, but you don't have the ultimate. Merge is going to be hitting the Death Blossom in a matter of seconds. So Lilithty and Prince Willy have got to be on their A game. He's waiting. He's on the top bridge door. He's looking down. He's hoping that they come below him, and they haven't spotted him out.
How have they not seen him? Oh god, this is gonna get very bloody very quickly. There's not much they can do to stop this one right now. They've got the Diva. A nano boost on the Moira. I mean, it keeps him alive. It works. Down goes Willie to trade 1-for-1 here. Resurrect over the defensive side. The Shatter is what's truly gonna end it all. 5 seconds on the clock. Tempo brought to a halt. And Pogfish, they've got their win condition to send them on to Grands, Moxie.
Pogfish holding their heads high. They stopped the Bastion composition. But it took them a very long time. And that's dangerous in Rialto. You think all of that space, all of the hallowed high ground that the defenders are given access to, you think it's tough to deal with a Bastion on attack? What if Tempo lean into this? What if they put Willow onto that Bastion yet again, because Pogfish was so very reluctant to go for something that has that immediate stopping power, that literally is an ultimate that throws an actual spanner in the form of that snowball in the Bastion's way to stop him from setting up.
Curious to see whether or not the Bastions run on the defensive side here, or if they just go back to the classic stuff. No, it's Willow on the tried and true Mei. I'm not surprised to see this at all, but given that Pogfish has stopped running the Reinhardt into it, it feels like it's going to be a bit tougher to get value out of.
Pogfish opting to try and cover as much space as they possibly can. Merge and Yukon See Ghost can both take two different angles and really try and pinch it in Tempo.
Uh-oh.
Tempo going as aggressive as we've seen their defenses on Havana. If they don't get found out, this could be absolutely brutal. The speed boost available to them the moment that they get in. Pogfish aren't all going to be grouped up either. A couple of them are going to be on the high ground trying to get the picks. Especially with Merge going up into the sky. This could well be a very interesting first fight.
It's over. That's it. That's your first fight.
Done. Oh, what a spectacular one! You can see Ghost gets walled up walking out of spawn and stuck between the ceiling.
Yeah, you know, it hurt to see that one. Now they push out with the Mei of their own. Oh boy, this could be bloody real quick. Wall off onto the Reinhardt, keeping himself alive though. Great counter wall by Willow to keep their own Reinhardt alive. Down goes into the drink though! Crocodile, what an opening pick! Another one! Onto Brad. It's not exactly the off-the-map boost that she needs, but it does finish off a very, very important hero on the other side. Now the Reinhardt cut off. Pogfish have broken out of their spawn in fantastic fashion. The highlight of the last 30 seconds, Crocodile bringing them there.
This was a risky play coming from Tempo, because now you've lost that fight at first corner before it can even occur. You can see Pogfish moving forward aggressively. They know this is one of the dangers on Rialto Point A that you have to clear. This is the one place where that payload gets slowed down. And when a chance for Grand Finals is up to contest, you want to push forward aggressively. You don't want to be full held on the very first one.
But look at the ultimates right now. I mean, it's so much further ahead, especially in Sound Barrier for Pogfish. If they utilize it well, they should be able to win this fight at the back. But it's Tenor up with the first ultimate. It's Coalescence to open things up. Prince Willy hits a fat one into the opposing team, but they haven't found the kills they need quite yet, as Yeeter is the only man down, and Pogfish can still look for a re-engage off the back of maybe this nano boost, or maybe just that Reinhardt respawning.
Well, you'll have a nano boost, you'll have a shatter. Prince Willy just used one of his own, so you don't have to worry about the counter coming on through. You just have to worry about the Graviton answering Blizzard.
Both tanks attempting to block the shadow. They know it's coming from Yeeter right now. Could break this entire fight open as the nano boost is already up in their face. No, it's You Can't See Ghost. Big Death Blossom helped out by his team to get this cart rolling again through A point. Pogfish, they can smell it, Moxie, right at the end of the map. A few dozen meters away is that box of victory. They're soaring for it.
Pogfish as well will have the Graviton, will have the Blizzard. Tempo do have the engagement tools with Blizzard, Death Blossom, and Scar of their own. They've got to use it before Pogfish are able to hit the combo card.
Oh, it's a big barrier from Lilithy, and the Death Blossom to follow up is just as good, but it's traded out for two of their own. They've lost both of their tanks, though, on the way in. Tempo are relying entirely on the Brad to try and hold on to this fight, but it doesn't seem likely as it's this Reaper up against three. He's taking out the Reinhardt. Wait a minute, Moxie, the spawns are here. Tempo could stagger this one out.
He's alive! The Coalescence is keeping the Reaper in play! He goes down, but he's done his job. The Tracer is back!
When people say tooth and nail, this is what they mean. Tempo are not giving them anything for free. Like we said, they're fighting for their tournament lives here, and it damn well looks like it.
Rialto is that point the most full holds in Overwatch map. And it's exactly because you have to cross the perilous courtyard, exposing yourself to so much damage, so much potential to lose that first pick against you before the fight can start.
Let's see what Yeater can get. He's got the first pick potential. He's walking past the shield. He's looking for a shatter. You can see it in his eyes. He's got the Reinhardt. They're looking for the follow-up with the sound barrier. It's going to be easy to push through. They've got plenty of health to do exactly that. Re-engage with the Coalescence from the attacking side, but the defensive ultimate is just so much better from Pogfish right now that they're still ahead up in this fight, and Laskin up at high charge is going to be the main man to do all of the damage here, unless Brad has something to say about it. He does again! The Reaper clutching it out and holding on for Tempo on point A. 17 seconds, the time bank for them to victory.
Oh, Pogfish should be able to touch. They've got the Hammond. He's already in position trying to get that tap onto the card. All he needs to do is stall just long enough. Because the Mei, the Reaper, the Ana, they're all going to be hitting ultimates for Tempo. They've already got the ultimates both!
You got the touch, but Brad's in the back line with the Death Blossom. They can see the victory in their sights. Tempo to send themselves on to Grand Finals. The only thing in their way, a Death Blossom and a very, very cold bit of victory. What a way to go out. 7-match series for Tempo, but they take it away on the day.
Different scoreline, same result. Tempo walk away with victory over Pogfish, setting themselves up for that shot at Grand Finals. Though we said it, we said how brutal Rialto can be, how you can get chipped away as you move through a courtyard, how you have to sacrifice so much to be able to cement yourself back onto the position of that payload. And Tempo had such a good understanding, using Coalescence, knowing, trusting that the Reaper, that the Brad who shone on Havana would find that same success on that DPS hero, on Rialto, and keep the team alive, keep that payload firmly stood where it stands. And that's exactly why they're able to keep that payload right there all the way through till the end of the map after.
Well, Pogfish, it was a good run. It was a solid series. I mean, Tempo, God, just the kings of full holds right now. How many was that in the series in total? What, 3 minimum? In 7 maps, 3 full holds. Like, come on. How do you do that against a team? And Pogfish, like, they were winning maps. They didn't look bad. It was just Tempo were so strong on the defense, and Willow's May especially just causes so many issues for this team. They're going a long way. They're going to Grand Finals, and I'll be damned if they didn't earn it, Moxie. As for tonight, though, I mean, that's all we have at Overwatch Tranquility. This weekend, though, there's more Overwatch action over at twitch.tv/MB_official, where Banana Brawl is going on, and there is plenty more Tier 3 Overwatch. We're deciding who gets a Contenders Trial spot. You'll catch Moxie and I over there casting. If you want to keep up with everything related to that, you can follow either of us at our Twitters below. It helps us out massively in that regard as well. Huge shout out to Booth over in the production, well, his namesake, production booth, holding it down. Tons of producing for the night. It was a long 7-map series, but ladies and gentlemen, we got through it, and Tempo got through to a Grand Finals. That's all we have for you tonight, though. So get some rest. There's more Overwatch Tranquility coming at you next week.